Battle through the heaven. Marrying Xun'er, but she refused the wedding night. Chapter 41 Entering Shimo City, Little Missy Ching Lin. Could such a genius come from Zhongzhou? At this time, Hai Bodong has recovered the strength of Do Sovereign. At this moment, Do Chi turns into wings and stays in the air outside Mo City. He looked in a trance as he watched Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian ride away on the huge flying monster amethyst-winged Lion King, and murmured in his heart. Hai Bodong could certainly recognize that the huge monster was the overlord of the outer area of the Monster Mountain Range, a 6th-level monster, the amethyst-winged Lion King. A 6th-order monster, equivalent to the Do Sovereign cultivation base in humans, and the amethyst-winged Lion King is even a 6th-order middle stage, so even you have to be careful when facing him head-on. Today, Hai Bodong cultivation base has been restored, the seal has been broken, and the once powerful Ice Emperor has finally returned in full force. He was sealed with a cultivation base by Queen Medusa, and lived in a miserable state in Stone Desert City, living in a daze and running a small shop. Maybe Hai Bodong was lucky this time to meet Ji Yufei, or maybe he was unlucky to be blackmailed by Ji Yufei for a large sum of money. If it were in the past, the unruly Ice Emperor might have had a good fight with Ji Yufei. But now, after so many years of settling down, he no longer has the same ambition as before. Moreover, although he could not see through Ji Yufei's strength, he could sense how much terrifying energy was buried in the body of that thin-looking boy. Therefore, the sudden surge in strength at this moment did not make Hai Bodong have any bad thoughts towards Ji Yufei. He was certain that Ji Yufei's strength far exceeded his. The aura Ji Yufei exuded that time was much stronger than when Hai Bodong faced Queen Medusa. Hai Bodong's intuition told him that this ignorant young man was very dangerous. As for those incomplete maps, no one knew what kind of treasures were buried there. Although Hai Bodong didn't know what the functions of these incomplete maps were, he still knew it. The secrets hidden in these fragments of the map are definitely not small. After all, it was because of these incomplete maps that he was hunted down by Queen Medusa. He was trapped in the cultivation base and had to hide from place to place. What kind of person is Queen Medusa? She is the absolute queen of the snake people. As proud and strong as she is, this is probably the first time that she will go to the ends of the earth to find Hai Bodong and those remaining maps herself. I've been gone for so long, it's time to go back to the capital to see how my old friends are doing now. After a moment, Hai Bodong let out a breath, his brows relaxed, and he finally put aside the matters about Ji Yufei and the Cantu in his mind. He spent too much energy and time on these things. Now that they were all taken away by Ji Yufei, he felt a long-lost sense of relief. After all, it was too hard to guard the treasure and live in constant fear of when Queen Medusa would appear in front of him and kill him without mercy. This time, Ji Yufei finally got rid of his heavy burden. Before leaving, Hai Bodong took one last look at the huge city located at the edge of the desert and the land. The sky was filled with yellow sand, and enthusiastic people were walking shoulder to shoulder through the streets. Everything was so familiar, but today we had to say goodbye unexpectedly. Hai Bodong also thought that he might have been growing old in fear in Shimo City. Fortunately, someone gave him the opportunity to go back. He sighed softly, looking a little lonely. The decades of secluded life had made him, who was originally a very indifferent person, develop some feelings for this place. Hai Bodong did not look back and walked away. He didn't know whether he would come back in this life. The Gutu shop on the corner of the street closed quietly. No one knew where the shop owner had gone. All they knew was that the shop had never opened again. On the other side, as the Lion King carried Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian deeper into the desert, the surrounding climate became increasingly hotter. However, sitting on the back of the amethyst-winged Lion King, with the energy shield protecting him, Xiao Yixian did not feel the heat. She sat on the lion's broad back and looked at the scenery below. The difference between this place and Qingshan town is so great that even though Xiao Yixian has seen it several times, he still can't help but marvel at it. Along the way, they saw a lot of cultural customs below, and also saw a snake people, which made Xiao Yixian very curious. Is this the snake man? Brother Ji Yufei, walking with a snake's tail seems quite special. Xiao Yixian was not afraid of these human-shaped snake-bodied guys. There was innocence and curiosity in his eyes. Ji Yufei just smiled and didn't tell her how terrifying snake people were to humans. At one point, Xiao Yixian yawned and looked down again. But he saw a battle between snake people and humans in the desert below. There were a dozen tall snakemen in total, surrounding 7 or 8 humans. The snake people are tall and physically strong, making the humans among them look weak and pitiful. At this time, Ji Yufei started to talk about how most snake people hated humans and were brutal. Many of them would kill anyone they saw. If nothing unexpected happens, all these humans will be killed in this siege. The snake people and the humans of the Jia Empire hate each other, and this hatred is even to the extent that they will attack each other as soon as they meet. This kind of hatred has accumulated over time. There is no absolute right or wrong. It is a disaster for both sides. Originally, Ji Yufei had no intention of interfering in such matters. However, when Xiao Yixian saw this scene, he asked Ji Yufei for help without hesitation. Brother Ji Yufei, please help them. Xiao Yixian said in a pleading tone, with some pity in his eyes, because she saw that among the humans below, there was a woman holding a child. Good. Hearing this, Ji Yufei glanced at Xiao Yixian. There was panic in her eyes, which made Ji Yufei feel her kindness again. Xiao Yixian had already spoken, so how could Ji Yufei remain indifferent? So he directly ordered the Lion King to fly over there. The size of the Lion King scared both sides and made them flee in all directions before they even got close, giving the humans a glimmer of hope. With the speed of the Lion King, it only took half a day to get close to Shimo City, the city closest to the border of Jia Empire. When he arrived here, Ji Yufei stopped. He remembered that Qing Lin, the poor girl with half-human bloodline and half-snake bloodline, was in this city. As far as Ji Yufei knows, Qing Lin has a kind personality, but he has suffered unfair discrimination and abuse since he was a child. Even if he possesses great talent, he has not yet unleashed it. So, Ji Yufei came up with an idea. He wanted to bring Qing Lin cultivation ahead of time. Perhaps, only when she becomes strong enough, those who once discriminated against and insulted her will not dare to do so again, and she can get fairness instead of unwarranted abuse and insults. Besides, Qing Lin is also an important character in the original novel, and his luck must be good. If he can stay by his side for a long time, it will be very helpful for Ji Yufei to collect emotional points. Chapter 42, Your face is so red, are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere? This time, without Xiao Yixian's reminder, Ji Yufei did not let the amethyst-winged Lion King fly directly into the city to cause panic like he did last time. Instead, he stopped a few miles outside the city and asked the Lion King to wait somewhere outside the city. He and Xiao Yixian entered the city in a low-key manner. After entering Shimo City, Ji Yufei still took Xiao Yixian to a restaurant first. Deep in the desert, yellow mountains are everywhere, and people will choke on a lot of yellow sand even when they take a breath. Although most cities have air filtering arrays, they are not enough. Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian flew all the way here from high altitude, so their situation was better than on the ground. After all, they are protected by a shield. But the two of them only walked from outside the city to inside, and their bodies were covered with a lot of yellow sand blown up by the strong wind. Xiao Yixian looked at her white dress which had become a little dirty with tears in her eyes. There was also some yellow sand on her face. Ji Yufei looked down and chuckled, but Xiao Yixian, who had sharp ears, heard it and stared at him with his big eyes. Were you just laughing? Xiao Yixian becomes suspicious. His emotion value increases by 100. Ji Yufei quickly cleared his throat and shook his head seriously. When Xiao Yixian was about to get angry with her eyebrows raised, Ji Yufei quickly spoke first. Let's find a place to take a shower first, and then I'll take you clothes shopping later. Okay. Xiao Yixian's attention was drawn to his words, and his eyes lit up. Xiao Yixian becomes excited, and his emotion value increases by 100, really. Brother Ji Yufei, you can't lie to me. I just walked along the way and saw a lot of shops, and the clothes on display were all very beautiful. Ji Yufei laughed and touched her furry head. Okay, later, I'll give you all my money to buy clothes. Xiao Yixian becomes excited, and his emotion value increases by 100. Xiao Yixian usually looks very calm, but she is still a little girl after all, and she can't take her eyes off beautiful clothes. Xiao Yixian accompanied him all the way from Qingshan town to Shimo City without complaint. Of course he had to be nicer to Missy. Xiao Yixian smiled, responded loudly, and hurried to take a shower. There was no dirt on Ji Yufei's body, but he still went to take a shower. After all, I always feel that my body is a little dirty, so it's better to wash it. Soon, the two finished bathing and Xiao Yixian changed into another long dress and walked onto the street first. Ji Yufei followed her from behind, with a smile on his face, looking at the lively girl in front of him. Since she came to the desert, her personality has become much more cheerful. She dares to make requests to him openly and can also joke with him. Ji Yufei was very happy, because it meant that Xiao Yixian now trusted him very much. No, ever since he invited Xiao Yixian and she agreed to leave Qingshan town without hesitation, Missy was destined to be with him. Her true personality is probably like this, she loves to laugh and make trouble. In Qingshan town, the gentle Xiao Yixian is just a perfect mask to hide herself. Brother Ji Yufei, come up quickly. Xiao Yixian looked back and found Ji Yufei standing there in a daze, so he quickly called out to him. Here it comes. Ji Yufei waved and walked towards Xiao Yixian. These clothes are all very exotic. Although they are not as close-fitting and bold as the ones Xiao Yixian has seen before, they also have a lot of hollowing out. Xiao Yixian pinched a skirt, was silent for a moment, stole a glance at Ji Yufei, and her little face suddenly turned red strangely. Xiao Yixian becomes shy, and his emotion value increases by 100. Ji Yufei was sitting aside waiting for her to pick clothes. When he heard the system prompt, he looked over with some confusion, but I saw the corners of her mouth raised, as if she was laughing, but her face was red. Your face is so red, are you feeling unwell? Ji Yufei was a little worried and asked before leaving. Xiao Yixian becomes panicked and shy, and his emotion value increases by 100. Xiao Yixian seemed to be frightened by him. He jumped back, his ears turned red, and his eyes looked around. Nothing, nothing. Ji Yufei shook his head, picked up the few clothes picked by Xiao Yixian, and went to pay the bill. When I turned around, I saw Xiao Yixian's eyes full of stars. Xiao Yixian becomes happy, and his emotion value increases by 100. Brother Ji Yufei, you are so handsome. When I was in Qingshan town, the elder sister from the shop next door told me that a good man is one who is willing to spend money on a woman. After listening to what she said, Ji Yufei held his forehead helplessly and took the silly Missy who kept mumbling back to the restaurant. The next day, Ji Yufei planned to find Qing Lin. Qing Lin has been in a very difficult situation. If he had gone a day earlier, he could have freed her from that situation in advance. Although Ji Yufei claims that he is not a good person, Qing Lin's life in the original novel was not a decent one. In addition, she can also provide him with emotional points, so he planned to find Qing Lin as soon as possible. Xiao Yixian, I sensed an extremely powerful physique in this city yesterday, and I wanted to take him in as my disciple. Xiao Yixian becomes suspicious, his emotion value increases by 100. When Xiao Yixian heard this, he showed some doubts on his face, and muttered in his heart, Brother Ji Yufei wants to accept a disciple, so from now on, won't there be one more person around me? Xiao Yixian, when I find someone, I will take you there. You stay in the room and don't go anywhere. Don't run around, okay? Ji Yufei instructed. Brother Ji Yufei seems to care about me very much. Hearing the nervousness in Ji Yufei's tone, Xiao Yixian was stunned. Xiao Yixian has a heart-throb emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. Ji Yufei didn't expect that a casual remark from him would cause such a big reaction from her. Xiao Yixian didn't expect that his heartbeat would suddenly speed up. Before, whenever Ji Yufei had something to deal with, he would let her wait there alone. No, I have to go now to see what kind of person Brother Ji Yufei is if you want to accept a disciple. Xiao Yixian's mouth corners curled up, his eyebrows curved, and a smile bloomed on his light red lips. This smile is more beautiful than the short-lived night blooming serious. Ji Yufei looked at it and his eyes were stunned. He coughed to cover up and quickly changed the subject. Xiao Yixian becomes happy, and his emotion value increases by 100. Xiao Yixian smiled even more deeply when he saw Ji Yufei's rare panic. Okay, let's go together. Next, Ji Yufei nodded in agreement and took Xiao Yixian directly to fly over the city. There was nothing under his feet, but he felt as if he was walking on flat ground, flying freely and easily across the sky. With Ji Yufei's strength, almost no one in the entire city could detect his existence and aura. Unless seen with the naked eye, his existence could not be discovered at all. In a corner of the city, there is a large manor. This is the base of the Desert Iron Mercenary Group of Shimo City. Ji Yufei remembered that the two young leaders of the Desert Iron Mercenary Group in Shimo City were Xiao Yan's eldest brother Xiao Ding and second brother Xiao Li. Chapter 43 Qing Lin, Master, can I? Desert Iron Mercenary Group, Training Ground. A dozen mercenaries stood in a neat row, and standing in front of them were two young men. One of them, dressed in white, looked relatively calm, while the other had a fierce look on his face. The two people are Xiao Yan's eldest brother Xiao Ding and second brother Xiao Li. At this moment, the two of them are teaching the mercenary do technique in the martial arts arena. At this time, in the backyard of the Modi mercenary group, a thin girl in green, with half of her face hidden by a braid of green hair, walked among the crowd with her head lowered. She looked very young, seemingly less than 14 years old. Her emerald green eyes were calm as water, yet they held an inexplicable magical power, like the cold eyes of a snake. Once you looked into their eyes, you would be sucked into them. The girl has a delicate face and is petite, but she can never raise her head in a crowd. No matter where the girl in green went, anyone she met, whether they were mercenaries or servants hired by the mercenary group, almost always looked at her with disgust. She lowered her head and accidentally bumped into a tall man. Are you blind? You annoying thing. It's bad luck to see you. The man looked back impatiently, and when he saw a green braid and an exotic green dress, he started cursing. Faced with such undisguised malice, the girl looked very timid and never dared to resist. She only dared to hide in a deserted place, squat down, bury her head between her legs, and sob softly. Little missy, do you want to stop being discriminated against from now on? Suddenly, a voice sounded in Qing Lin's ears. The person who asked the question was Ji Yufei, who had quietly sneaked into the Modi mercenary group. Qing Lin couldn't stop sobbing quietly, but held her breath the moment she heard the sound. Qing Lin becomes surprised, and his emotion value increases by 70. She looked up suddenly and saw two brothers and elder sister who were a few years older than her. These two people were naturally Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian from the Modi mercenary group. Both of them had just concealed their own auras and saw from high in the sky some of the unfair treatment Qing Lin suffered. Although Qing Lin has a place to stay in the Modi mercenary group, he still suffers from this inexplicable discrimination and abuse. Especially Xiao Yixian, who was overwhelmed with sympathy when he saw these things. Just now, she was watching from behind, and Xiao Yixian almost couldn't help but rush over several times. Xiao Yixian becomes angry and distressed, and his emotion value increases by 100 after knowing Xiao Yixian's mood. Ji Yufei also told her about Qing Lin's life experience. Xiao Yixian had heard before that near the Tager Desert, human women were occasionally d by snake people. According to common sense, snake people usually do not get pregnant when they have x with humans. However, nothing is absolute. There is always an extremely rare chance that a woman who has x with a snake man will become pregnant and give birth to a child. Qing Lin is the child born from the union of a snake man and a human, and has the snake man bloodline. Snake people and humans seem to hate each other from birth. People like Qing Lin are considered a curse by both humans and snake people. Being able to live so many more years seems to have gained nothing except more contempt and ridicule. Even after Qing Lin was taken in by the two leaders of the Modi mercenary group and worked as a maid in the mercenary group, responsible for logistics, she was still hated by almost all the mercenaries. The mercenaries on the edge of the desert all have an unerasable blood feud with the snake people. Although Qing Lin was pitiful, they couldn't help but feel hatred and disgust in their hearts when they thought of the snake man bloodline in her body. Qing Lin, who possesses both human and snake man bloodlines, bears the discrimination and disgust from both snake men and humans. To be honest, she was extremely innocent and had never done anything wrong. Qing Lin becomes confused, and his emotion value increases by 70. Qing Lin looked at Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian in confusion. At this time, Ji Yufei's feet had not yet touched the ground, but were hovering in the air. This young man looked very powerful. At least, there was no one stronger than him in Shimo City. Qing Lin becomes hesitant, and his emotion value increases by 70. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded gently, but there was still some timidity in her eyes. If you want, then take me as your master. I can make you a powerful person that everyone will admire. Ji Yufei spoke. Qing Lin has yearning emotions, emotional value increases by 100 afterwards. Xiao Yixian also came directly to Qing Lin and persuaded Qing Lin. Come with us, this brother is very powerful. From now on, when your cultivation base becomes stronger, no one will dare to bully you anymore. Xiao Yixian is very kind, and her gentle eyes make Qing Lin feel good. Qing Lin looked at her, felt a little more relaxed, and smiled faintly. Qing Lin produces a relaxed mood, and the mood value increases by 100. Master, can I? Qing Lin was very excited, but still looked at Ji Yufei with some trepidation. You can do it. Since I chose you, it proves that you have the potential. Ji Yufei nodded. I am willing to take you as my teacher. Qing Lin said solemnly. However, the two leaders of the Desert Iron Mercenary Group have been kind to me and took me into work here before. Therefore, I want to say goodbye to them before I leave, so as not to worry them. Then Ji Yufei agreed. He directly used spiritual strength to sweep the mercenary group, and quickly called the two men over. The voice with its majestic pressure surprised Xiaoding and Xiaoli at the training ground. Xiaoding feels surprised and panicked, his emotion value increases by 50. Xiaoli is surprised, and his emotion value increases by 50 afterwards. Xiaoding and Xiaoli quickly came to Ji Yufei. Qinglin slowly told Senior Ji Yufei about his apprenticeship and his departure. At the same time, I would like to thank the two team leaders Xiaoding and Xiaoli for their care. Seeing this, Xiaoding and Xiaoli breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, they were a little surprised. They didn't expect that Ji Yufei looked so young, but possessed such terrifying strength. At first they thought they had provoked a powerful person, so they rushed here in fear. Finally, after hearing what happened, they were both happy for Qinglin. Xiaoding becomes happy, and his emotion value increases by 50. Xiaoli becomes happy, and his emotion value increases by 50 inches. Since you two have taken care of Qinglin before, you can take these two alchemy pills. They will be beneficial to the cultivation base and can also repair many hidden injuries on the body. Ji Yufei took out two alchemy pills that were useful for improving Do Master's cultivation base and gave them to the two of them. Without waiting for them to react, he left with Qinglin and Xiao Yixian. Xiaoding and Xiaoli looked at each other, gratitude in their eyes. Thank you, Senior. Xiaoding feels grateful, his emotion value increases by 50. Xiaoli feels grateful, and his emotion value increases by 50. Chapter 44, Stimulating Physical Fitness, Xiao Yixian's exclamation. After returning to the restaurant, Xiao Yixian lived in the same room with Qinglin. Although Qinglin was a woman, she was also very good looking. However, because she is still young, she has no idea about many things. Xiao Yixian wouldn't be jealous of other women around Ji Yufei. Moreover, Ji Yufei was simply accepting disciples, and Qinglin's life experience was so pitiful. Qinglin, take a look at which one you like, then go take a shower and change into it. In the room, Xiao Yixian took out several new clothes that were suitable for Qinglin's size that she had just bought on the street. Thank you, Xiao Yixian elder sister. Qinglin's eyes reddened and he said thank you quietly. It's great to meet them. The next day, Ji Yufei and the other two got up early at the same time and wandered around Shimo City. Qinglin was a little restrained at first. After all, the temperaments of Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian were different from those of the other people in the mercenary group. Especially Ji Yufei, although he looked ordinary at first glance, with only a good appearance, his do-chi fluctuations were not very strong. But Qinglin had an inexplicable sense of awe towards him, and always felt that Ji Yufei was the most powerful person she had ever met. Xiao Yixian kept talking to her along the way, asking her to relax a little and not to treat herself as an outsider. Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian both treated her like a spoiled child, and she quickly became familiar with them. She slowly raised her head, which had always been lowered, and the smile on her face became brighter. She does look a bit like a real carefree 14-year-old girl. However, when Qinglin occasionally made eye contact with them, a hint of inferiority would flash across his eyes, and he would quickly look away. She didn't want them to see those emerald green, enchanting, cold snake eyes. Xiao Yixian was careful and noticed it immediately. He found an opportunity and secretly mentioned it to Ji Yufei. Qinglin has such low self-esteem, I'm afraid it's because he was often discriminated against by others before. There was some distress in her eyes, and Ji Yufei quickly comforted her. I will think of a way. Xiao Yixian believed in Ji Yufei unconditionally. He said he would find a way, so she just had to watch. After bringing Qinglin with him, Ji Yufei pondered for several days and felt that it was time to let her unleash her talents. She had been bullied before because she had no idea of the terrifying nature of her talent. If Qinglin could fully develop her physique, who would dare to look down on her? If she understood how powerful those discriminated snake eyes were, she might be happy and feel that she had the power to protect herself and them. Qinglin possesses the powerful physique of triple jade green snake flower pupils. She can control some snake-like creatures and absorb their energy for her own use. Her talent is extremely strong. This triple jade green snake flower pupils is extremely rare, and it is difficult to find one in a million miles. If Qinglin uses it well, he will achieve great things in the future. Originally, before Xiao Yixian brought up this matter, Ji Yufei had no plans to go to the magma area deep underground. Because the heavenly flame in the lava land had been taken away by Medusa, the remaining green lotus platform and earth fire lotus seeds were of no use to him. So he simply didn't bother to make another trip and waste time. But now, Ji Yufei changed his mind. Anyway, he had to take Qinglin there to stimulate her talent. While controlling the two-headed fire ling snake, He could also take out the Qing Lian platform and the Earth Fire Lotus Seed. The Green Lotus platform and Earth Fire Lotus Seeds are of no use to him, but they can also allow Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin to speed up cultivation. At night, Ji Yufei informed Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin in advance. Qing Lin becomes excited, and his emotion value increases by 70 when Qing Lin heard that they were going out. Excitement almost overflowed from his eyes. She hurried back to her room, but couldn't fall asleep after chatting with Xiao Yixian for a long time. After all, she is still a grown-up missy, and this is probably her first time to take a short trip like this. The next morning, Ji Yufei took Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin out. With his understanding of the original work, he naturally knew the approximate location of the lava area. And as he got closer, his powerful spiritual strength was able to sense the special aura. It turned out to be this place. Qing Lin becomes hesitant, and his emotion value increases by 70. Arriving at the desert, Qing Lin looked a little hesitant. She murmured something to herself, and Ji Yufei of course heard it clearly, but he did not speak. Instead, Xiao Yixian looked at her in confusion. What's wrong? Qing Lin. Looking at Xiao Yixian's concerned eyes, Qing Lin's lips trembled, and after making up her mind, she turned to look at Ji Yufei. After all, brother Ji Yufei is the strongest, he will definitely understand what she means. Qing Lin said, Brother Ji Yufei, I sensed something unusual about this place half a year ago. It seems that an extremely powerful aura came to this area half a year ago. This aura is somewhat similar to some of the bloodline in my body. When Qing Lin mentioned her bloodline, her voice was a little stagnant and she mentioned it vaguely. And in front of that aura, even the leader of the Sand Mercenary group is much weaker than him. Qing Lin added. Xiao Yixian also became curious and kept staring at Qing Lin, which made Qing Lin a little shy. Unexpectedly, Qing Lin could sense the presence of a powerful person even though he was dozens of miles away. Thinking of what Ji Yufei had said before about Qing Lin's extraordinary talent and wanting to take her as his apprentice, Xiao Yixian suddenly became thoughtful. Qing Lin, your perception is correct. A strong man has indeed been here before. After listening to Qing Lin's words, Ji Yufei nodded. Then, he performed Do Qi and his body flew rapidly into the sky. He floated in the air and grabbed towards a desert with one hand. The air paused for a moment, and the sand there was sucked directly to both sides, continuously spreading out around. After a while, a passage appeared under the sand. Qing Lin is shocked, and his emotion value increases by 70 inches. Brother Ji Yufei, did you sense this? You're amazing. Qing Lin watched Ji Yufei find a mysterious passage very smoothly. Even though she knew that Ji Yufei was very powerful, she was still shocked by his speed. Ji Yufei smiled indifferently and landed on the ground. Afterwards, Ji Yufei took Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin down and entered the mysterious passage. And they gradually came to the deepest part of the passage. Here underground, the fire energy is extremely rich and the temperature is naturally very high. The surrounding air seemed to be distorted due to the extremely high temperature, and the scorching air waves swept through the entire small space. However, with the protection of the ancient flying Do Qi, Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin were fine. Qing Lin was experiencing this Do Qi shield for the first time, and he looked at it curiously for a long time. They walked for a while and finally saw the end. At the end of the passage is an underground magma lake. In the huge cave, red magma flows slowly. Occasionally, huge bubbles emerge from the magma. But a moment later, with a slight sound, it exploded with a bang, and the hot magma burst out from it, as gorgeous as a fiery red firework. Chapter 45. Snake Man Yu Mei. Ji Yu He reveals his whereabouts. Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin were both very surprised and attracted by the fiery and dazzling scene before them. They both stopped to look. Let me show you a big guy. Ji Yufei smiled and dived directly into the magma. Soon, he pulled out the two-headed fire snake from the magma. Moreover, it also stimulated Qing Lin to activate the physical effect of triple jade green snake flower pupils. Oh my god, Qing Lin, you can actually subdue a fourth-level monster. Seeing that Qing Lin was able to tame the two-headed fire snake, Xiao Yixian was happy for her. Next, Ji Yufei briefly introduced the physique of triple jade green snake flower pupils to the two of them. This terrifying, sinister and cunning two-headed fire snake stood quietly and motionless after being tamed by Qing Lin. Qing Lin actually thought it was quite well behaved. There was also a smile on her face. This simple smile showed her relief towards her own bloodline and those snake pupils, as well as her gratitude towards Xiao Yixian and Xiao Yixian. Qing Lin generates gratitude, and his emotion value increases by 70. Ji Yu Fei looked at her calmly and saw that little Missy seemed to have unloaded all the burdens. Her face was full of relaxed smiles and he felt much happier in his heart. Afterwards, with Qing Lin ordering the two-headed fire ling snake to lead the way, Ji Yu Fei easily reached the birthplace of the Green Lotus geocentric flame. He easily took the Green Lotus platform and the Earth Fire Lotus seeds and put them all into the storage ring. Brother Ji Yu Fei, you should have found Heavenly Flame this time, right? Seeing Ji Yu Fei coming up, Xiao Yixian asked with some anticipation. No. Ji Yu Fei shook his head, took out a piece of 7 colors lin, and said, this kind of scale was left by Queen Medusa. I guess the Heavenly Flame here has been taken by Queen Medusa first. It seems that we need to go to the Serpent People. Is that so? That's a pity. Xiao Yixian felt a little regretful, because she knew that Ji Yu Fei came here just to find Heavenly Flame. Qing Lin also understood that perhaps, the Queen Medusa was the powerful aura she sensed half a year ago. Next, the three of them returned to the Shimo City restaurant again. Ji Yu Fei waited for them to wash up and then knocked on Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin's door. He looked serious, and Qing Lin also became inexplicably nervous. Qing Lin, since you have such a strong physique, you are a good candidate for cultivation. Next, I will teach you the method of cultivation. Ji Yu Fei said seriously. Qing Lin also nodded seriously. Qing Lin generates gratitude, and his emotion value increases by 70. Her heart was filled with gratitude and joy. From now on, she will also be able to protect brother Ji Yu Fei and Xiao Yixian elder sister. Xiao Yixian watched the two finish their teaching before he spoke, saying what he had been thinking about for a long time to say to Qing Lin. Qing Lin, I actually have the same special physique as you, which is hated and feared by most people. It is called the evil poison body. She explained to Qing Lin bit by bit the threat that the evil poison body posed to the people around her, as well as its terrible hidden dangers. Xiao Yixian didn't know whether he was comforting Qing Lin or expressing the fear hidden deep in his heart. She was also afraid that one day she would be hated by everyone around her and eventually killed by the poisonous body of evil. But when he saw Qing Lin, Xiao Yixian felt relieved. Qing Lin finally knew that Xiao Yixian was poisoned. No wonder Xiao Yixian usually never has physical contact with her. Sometimes Xiao Yixian pretended to avoid her touch unintentionally, and Qing Lin would feel sad for a while, worried that Xiao Yixian disliked her. After learning about the hidden dangers of Enan's poisonous body, Qing Lin became worried about Xiao Yixian. At this time, Ji Yu Fei suddenly said, don't worry, I have a way to solve Xiao Yixian's hidden dangers. However, it requires a lot of materials. Once I find the Heavenly Flame, I will go look for those materials and try to solve it as soon as possible. Really? After hearing Ji Yu Fei's words, Xiao Yixian's depressed look disappeared and he said in surprise. There was fear hidden beneath her bright smile. How could Ji Yu Fei not see it? But he said nothing, waiting for Xiao Yixian to speak. In this way, she can resolve her worries to the greatest extent. Xiao Yixian has anticipation emotion. Emotion value increases by 100 after hearing Ji Yu Fei's words. Xiao Yixian's eyes lit up, and a smile appeared unconsciously on the corners of his mouth. His purple eyes seemed to be glowing. Qing Lin was also sincerely happy for her. Next, Ji Yu Fei and the other two spent 2 days preparing in Shimo City, buying a lot of supplies for backup. Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin also happily visited all the stalls and shops. Ji Yu Fei finally decided to set off for the desert area occupied by the snake people. This time, after leaving Shimo City, Amethyst-Winged Lion King was also summoned by Ji Yu Fei. Qing Lin looked at Ji Yu Fei and Xiao Yixian with some confusion and stopped. Xiao Yixian would look up into the sky from time to time, as if he was waiting for something. Brother Ji Yu Fei, Xiao Yixian elder sister, why don't we leave? Xiao Yixian smiled mysteriously. You'll know in a moment. Qing Lin was stunned until he saw a huge flying monster rushing towards them in the distance from high in the sky. The huge creature circled in the sky above their heads for several times, slowly descended, and finally landed steadily on the ground. Qing Lin is shocked, and his emotion value increases by 70 inches. Qing Lin, this is brother Ji Yu Fei's flying monster, it's pretty good, right? Xiao Yixian explained with a smile. Qing Lin is shocked, and his emotion value increases by 70. Looking at little Missy's dazed look, Ji Yu Fei couldn't help but smile. He helped Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin onto the back of the Amethyst-Winged Lion King. Qing Lin finally woke up and looked around excitedly. The Amethyst-Winged Lion King flew into the sky, and Qing Lin was as excited as Xiao Yixian when he first sat on the Lion King's back. Following the route on the map, Ji Yufei and his party arrived at the territory of the snake tribe of the snake people after flying for a whole day. Because I was traveling with two women and it was a whole day of long journey, Ji Yufei found an oasis and stopped so that they could bathe in the lake. This is the territory of our snake people, please leave immediately. Amethyst-winged Lion King was such a huge target that after entering here, he was naturally discovered by the snake people of the charming snake tribe. However, facing a 6th-level magical beast, the tone of this group of snake people was not fierce at first, but rather quite tactful. If you don't want to die, get out of here. The Lion King roared. As the wings vibrated, many snake people from the Mei snake tribe were blown away. Under the absolute crushing power, many snake people did not dare to move forward again. At this time, there was a desert only 100 miles away from here. There was also a battle going on. One of the two sides in the battle was the leader of the Mei snake tribe, Yu Mei. The other party is Ji Yuhi and his group who came to the desert to look for heavenly flame. Chapter 46 Yu Mei is afraid. Haha, I didn't expect that I would meet a Do King level warrior not long after arriving in the Great Desert. I guess your excellency must be a leader of the snake people, right? The Do Chi wings machine behind Ji Yuhi vibrated slightly. He took a step forward, looking at a charming snake person in the distance with a smile. The snake man had a charming and enchanting face, and a very hot body, which was very eye-catching. In those beautiful diamond-shaped eyes, there were ripples of spring-like watery feelings. Who are you? Why do you come to the depths of our tribe so late at night? Don't you know that this place is forbidden for you humans to enter? The charming smile on Yu Mei's pretty face had completely faded at this moment. Instead, there was a cold and solemn expression. Obviously, she had no time to joke in the face of this sudden and terrifying lineup. We want to see the queen, Furukawa said bluntly. Want to see Her Majesty the Queen? Hearing this, Yu Mei's beautiful eyes suddenly curved into a beautiful and dangerous arc, and she sneered, we, the snake people, have been at odds with you humans for many years. What else can we talk about? If you are sensible, I advise you to leave quickly. Otherwise, once the 8 leaders of my snake people gather together, the number of strong men in this Jama Empire will probably be greatly reduced. Yu Mei threatened. Looks like there's nothing to talk about. Ji Yuhi obviously would not retreat because of the threat from the other party. As soon as he finished speaking, the other 2 Do kings around him began to besiege Yu Mei. Seeing that the situation was not good, Yu Mei chose to escape. On the oasis lakeside, the snake people of the charming snake tribe, under the intimidation of the Lion King, did not dare to approach the oasis, but only passed on information to the outside. A 6th-level magical beast, even Yu Mei, the most powerful leader of their Mei snake tribe, would probably not be able to stop it. What's more, Yu Mei, the leader of the Mei snake tribe, has already left. The remaining members of the snake tribe could only be wary of the Lion King and Ji Yufei and his companions. Very vigilant eyes swept over them from time to time. Those snake people who used to brutally kill humans on sight did not dare to rush over and attack actively. As for Ji Yufei, he waited until Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin finished bathing and changed into clean clothes before deciding to set off. Xiao Yixian is pretty and gentle, Qing Lin has a pair of cold green eyes, but her whole body exudes a kind of well-behaved look. They both wear skirts that are not so conservative in the desert, and they are beautiful in their own ways. The desert was really hot. Although she had Do Chi to protect her, Xiao Yixian still found it troublesome and imitated Qing Lin to braid her long purple hair into a braid, which hung from her shoulders to the front. Ji Yufei couldn't help being stunned when he first saw that exceptionally gentle look. Xiao Yixian was wearing an open skirt, revealing a pair of fair arms, and her face was blushing with shyness. Seeing Ji Yufei staring at her, her ears turned red and she turned her head away, not daring to look at him. Xiao Yixian becomes shy, and his emotion value increases by 100 next. The 3 of them sat on the back of Amethyst-winged Lion King and began to move deeper. As night fell, a huge tribal fortress slowly appeared on the distant horizon. The fortress was brightly lit. However, the flickering fire in this peaceful and tranquil environment revealed something unsettled. On top of the huge city wall that is dozens of meters high, there are countless arrow towers densely packed. The arrows, with lavender tips shining through the arrow tower, glowed with a cold luster under the moonlight. They were aimed precisely and coldly at every corner around them. Once fired, anyone would be pierced into a sieve. However, what is strange is that in such a tight defense circle, a huge passage was forcibly destroyed. What's even more bizarre is that all the arrow towers near the huge passage were smashed into pieces by a powerful force that came from nowhere. Ji Yufei saw from afar that a passage in this sturdy fortress was destroyed by force from the outside, and he seemed to be thinking about something. Looking at this situation, could it be that Ji Yuhe and his group are walking in the front and forcing their way into the Mei Snake tribe's fortress? Looking at the fortress ahead, Ji Yufei murmured in his heart. However, he remembered that in the original book, at this point in time, Ji Yuhe and others should not have set out yet, but judging from the signs of destruction, it could only be Furukawa and his group, because other people don't have such strong strength. Even if there is such a strong person, he would not suddenly run to the depths of the desert and find the snake tribe so accurately. Therefore, it could only be that Furukawa, who was plotting Heavenly Flame, had brought all this forward for some special reason. But soon, Ji Yufei stopped worrying about it too much. Perhaps, my traveling to this world has triggered some butterfly effect. In this case, it is normal for some things to go astray, and he doesn't need to delve into it so deeply. Ji Yufei looked up at the fortress in front of him, thought for a while, and felt that he didn't need to be so timid. After all, this was a Snake Man tribe. Lion King, just charge forward, don't stop. Ji Yufei gave orders to the Lion King. Amethyst-winged Lion King paused, and then, without slowing down, rushed straight towards the serpent tribe. Among the snake people, the guards guarding the fortress did not notice anything unusual at first. Until they saw the huge monster flying in the distance, they realized something was wrong. Stop it! One person shouted angrily. Immediately afterwards, icy arrows and countless poisonous spears flew out from the city wall. The Lion King snorted disdainfully. Are these snake people looking down on it? Do you think you can stop some poisonous little garbage? As the amethyst-winged Lion King flapped its wings, a powerful hurricane swept in. The hurricane blew away the poisonous spears, and the attacks were completely unable to reach it. The Lion King continued to fly nonchalantly, ignoring the attacks at all. Ji Yufei is not a bloodthirsty person. This time he broke into someone else's tribe by force, so he did not kill anyone. He only let the Lion King fly over the fortress, causing no casualties to the snake people. After flying over the Mei Snake tribe, Ji Yufei continued on his journey. Along the way, we encountered many snake people who blocked our way. However, those obstacles were of no use at all. Amethyst-winged Lion King is in the sky, and many attacks are launched from the ground, which cannot threaten it at all. One day later, the holy city of Medusa. In the spacious and luxurious hall, a graceful figure leaned lightly against the back of a chair, looking a little tired. Occasionally, she glanced lazily at the empty purple crystal throne on the podium and could not help but shook her head helplessly. Rubbing her smooth forehead with her slender hands, a look of joy suddenly appeared on the woman's pretty face. She raised her head and looked outside the hall. A jet-black shadow shot in like lightning. Finally, you're here. Seeing the dark shadow entering the hall, the woman couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. You Mei, what happened? They actually issued 3 martial law orders in a row. Are those humans so strong? The figure that entered the hall was obviously a male snake man, with a faintly fierce aura. Glancing at this male snake man who was of equal status to herself in the tribe, Yu Mei sighed softly and said lazily, very strong. I ran into them last night and I fled. Besides, there were more than just this group of people. Oh, do you know their exact strength? Upon hearing this, the male snake man's pupils shrank slightly. He walked to the hall and sat down in front of the spacious table. There was an undisguised coldness in his voice. 1 Do sovereign, 3 Do kings, and 4 duelings. Yu Mei pursed her sexy red lips. When she spoke again, she sat up a little straighter, and her originally lazy face became a little more serious. The most important thing is another group of people. Chapter 47. The Queen's Evolution, a sexy scene. Yu Mei's eyes were more solemn than ever before. The tribe sent news that among that group of people, there was a 6th-level flying monster. 6th-level magical beast. How come these guys suddenly gather so many strong people? The expression on his face was obviously much more serious, and the male snake man known as Mobaz had a frown on his face. Do you know the strength of the other people who traveled with the 6th-level monster? Mobaz asked, his eyes gloomy. There are 2 very weak girls and a young boy. My people can't tell his strength at all. They say that he doesn't seem to have any do-chi fluctuations. Yu Mei frowned as she thought of the news from her tribesmen. She was very wary of this mysterious young man who could tame a 6th-level monster. Mobaz asked solemnly, have you informed Her Majesty the Queen? What did she say? I have informed you, but Her Majesty the Queen seems calm. She just asked me to send intelligence and call you over. Yu Mei nodded and said helplessly. Seeing that Mobus didn't believe it, Yu Mei was about to close her eyes, but her pretty face suddenly changed and her body suddenly sat up from the chair. Here it comes. When Yu Mei sensed the auras that suddenly appeared outside the city, Mobus beside her also sensed something. His face darkened slightly and he looked at Yu Mei. Then the two of them appeared outside the hall in an instant and rose rapidly into the air. A moment later, they arrived at the city wall which was under martial law. At this time, outside the city wall, a huge monster was suspended in the air, and several human figures were suspended not far in front of the monster. The visitors were none other than Ji Yu-hee and his group. Among them, Yun Yun was wearing a black robe and was the only Do sovereign strongman helper that Ji Yu-hee had invited. Human, why do you trespass into our territory without permission? Mobus shouted angrily. Haha, this must be the leader of the Mobasi tribe, right? Ji Yu-hee walked out slowly and said with a smile. Who are you? Mobus sneered. Haha, my name is Ji Yu-hee. The middle-aged man smiled slightly and said softly. Ja Ma Empire Dan Wang Ji Yu-hee. Hey, this name is well known. The word, Guhei, also surprised Diueme and Mobus. Although the snake people rarely take human strongmen seriously, they have to pay enough attention to alchemists like Ji Yu-hee, because they also know very well what kind of appeal an alchemist of Furukawa's level possesses. Haha, two leaders, I'm sorry to come to you as a noble, but I have something I want to discuss with Queen Medusa. I wonder if Her Majesty could come out and have a chat. Ji Yu-hee said with a polite smile. To see Her Majesty the Queen. Sorry, we cannot convey this request for you. Shaking his head, Mobus refused without hesitation and said calmly, Ji Yu-hee, you should take your people and leave as soon as possible. When the two sides were in a stalemate, a figure suddenly appeared from the distorted space in the sky. The beautiful woman who suddenly appeared was wearing an elegant purple brocade robe. The delicate body beneath the brocade robe is plump and exquisite, just like a ripe peach, exuding a faint charm. A head of 3,000 black hair casually fell from her shoulders, hanging vertically between her slender waist. Under the brocade robe, a purple snake tail was revealed, swaying slightly, with a wild and enchanting temptation that made people inexplicably feel hot all over. Queen Medusa. With the appearance of this charming woman, Ji Yu-hee and others finally became a little nervous. Even Yun Yun does not have the strength to defeat the notorious Queen Medusa. At this time, on the other side, Amethyst-winged Lion King flew at high speed all the way and gradually approached the holy city of Medusa. Xiao Yixian, Qing Lin, you wait here, I will be back soon. As if sensing something, Ji Yu-fei stopped. The Lion King and turned back to instruct Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin. Xiao Yixian becomes worried, and his emotion value increases by 100. Qing Lin becomes worried, emotional value increases by 70. Both of them knew how powerful Ji Yu-fei was, but they couldn't hide their worries when they knew that he was going to go alone deep into the holy city full of snake people who hated humans. Ji Yu-fei had no choice but to comfort them with a few words, said goodbye to the two women, and sped away. He arrived just in time. Outside the holy city, Ji Yu-hee and his group were in a silent confrontation with Queen Medusa. After seeing Ji Yu-hee and his group realized that the person outside was just a phantom of Queen Medusa and then broke into the holy city, Ji Yu-fei found the right direction, concealed his breath and sneaked into the holy city of the snake people. Queen Medusa divided the heavenly flame aura into several parts and used them in different directions to confuse people, but Ji Yu-fei was quite familiar with heavenly flame. His perception spread to the entire holy city, and the enormous spiritual power enabled Ji Yu-fei to quickly find the true direction, and he did not search blindly like Ji Yu-hee and the others. Soon, Ji Yu-fei arrived at the eastern part of the city. A huge temple slowly appeared within sight. He completely concealed his own breath, and without being noticed by any snake guards, he entered the depths of the temple silently as if he was in an empty place. At this moment, a small clear lake appeared in Ji Yu-fei's eyes. There is a small island in the middle of the lake. The island is surrounded by rippling water and there is no bridge leading to it. The lake seemed calm and peaceful, as if one could easily reach the island in the middle of the lake, but there were no fly zones in the lake, and the water was even highly poisonous. Although Ji Yu-fei was able to crack it, in order not to alert the enemy, he had to just carry on. If it were someone else, they would probably be helpless against the poison in the lake. Ji Yu-fei, however, chose to wrap his body with heavenly flame and swam across the lake. The sea heart flame he had obtained played a huge role in this environment. The sea heart flame glowed with a faint blue light, wrapping around his body, making Ji Yu-fei look like he was burning, but it could not be extinguished when it came into contact with water. Arriving at the small island in the middle of the lake, Ji Yufei did not stop and continued walking forward. Afterwards, he followed the guidance of heavenly flame in his perception and found a bamboo forest. The further you go, the stronger the scent of heavenly flame becomes. In Ji Yufei's sight, the center of the island was completely different from the periphery. Here is a circular open area. The surrounding bamboos and flowers were all cleaned up. Here, there are only small and smooth pebbles scattered around. These stones were sunken into a small pool in the open area. The small pond was filled with crystal clear water, and white mist was lingering above the surface of the water. In the center of the small pond, there is a lotus seat carved out of strange crystal. On the lotus seat, a ball of green flame is slowly rising. Ji Yufei hid in a corner, restrained all his aura and blended into the environment. He knew the purpose of his trip was there, but he was not in a hurry to act. Soon, an enchanting figure appeared. It was Queen Medusa. She planned to use the heavenly flame to burn herself to evolve. Chapter 48. It seems like a good idea to keep the queen as a pet. When a face that was so beautiful that it was almost enchanting came into his eyes, Ji Yufei couldn't help but freeze his gaze for a moment. At this moment, Queen Medusa was wearing a luxurious and expensive purple brocade robe that wrapped her graceful body. Her plump, hot and slender figure exudes enchanting temptation. That pair of narrow and long lavender eyes were full of natural charm as they moved around, attracting almost every man's attention. Beneath the purple brocade robe, a purple snake tail was revealed, sweeping lazily, releasing its wildness and exotic charm. At this moment, Queen Medusa's beautiful eyes were fixed on the green flame in the small pond. After staring at the green flame quietly for a long time, Queen Medusa suddenly sighed softly, looked up at the sky, and then her fiery body slowly stood up. It's time. Queen Medusa murmured softly, revealing two snow-white wrists under her purple brocade robe, and her slender hands slowly formed a few seals in front of her body. As the seals in Queen Medusa's hands changed, the crystal lotus seat suddenly trembled violently. The blue flame lost its restraints and turned into a raging fire in the blink of an eye. Queen Medusa bit her red lips with her pearly teeth and slowly unbuttoned her brocade robe with her delicate hands. Immediately, a perfect body that looked like a masterpiece from heaven was exposed naked in the bamboo forest. Ji Yufei's breathing became a little faster, and some bloodline was sprayed out. The scene before him was so erotic that even if he had no such intention, he could not help but have some natural physiological reactions. A dazzling light burst out from Queen Medusa's body, constantly expanding and shrinking, accompanied by a roar. Ji Yufei was not disturbed by the strong light. He closed his eyes and used his spiritual strength to sense everything happening around him. He clearly saw a giant purple snake, at least 10 feet long, floating above the island. The purple giant snake had a slender and powerful body, with a hint of elegant beauty. Its lavender pupils were not as ferocious as the snake men that Ji Yufei had met before, but revealed a sense of tranquility and indifference. During this period, Ji Yufei just lowered his eyes and looked at Queen Medusa quietly without interrupting her. Since Queen Medusa has chosen this path, she will either be reduced to ashes or evolve into the seven-color heaven-swallowing python. By then, no matter what the outcome is, Ji Yufei will be able to get the green lotus geocentric flame. When Queen Medusa was evolving, a melee was taking place in the holy city of the serpent people. During the melee with the snake people, Ji Yun and his party rushed into the holy city of Medusa and struggled to find the trace of heavenly flame. Ji is sensitive to the scent of heavenly flame, but he cannot distinguish which heavenly flame scent is real as easily as Ji Yufei. They could only search blindly and fight their way out of the holy city filled with snakemen. It seemed as if the densely packed snakemen were endless. As soon as they killed one group of snakemen, another group would appear from the corner or the shadows. Ji keenly realized that these snake people were probably delaying time. They are probably waiting for rescue from the strong snakemen. Ji thought something was wrong and shouted, "If we can't find heavenly flame again, we will evacuate immediately." But the next second, Yun glanced to the west. Too late, judging from this aura, it's probably another leader of one of the 8 tribes. Hearing her words, Ji and the others' expressions changed slightly. In the western sky, a red shadow was flying towards the city like lightning. About a minute later, a male snake man covered in red dochi appeared above the city. He swept his eyes across the air, and finally stopped on Ji and others with a grim expression. "Damn you humans, how dare you enter our holy city? This guy is the leader of the flame snake tribe among the 8 tribes. His name is Yanxi. Although he has an extremely hot temper, his strength ranks among the top among the 8 tribal leaders. He is a very difficult opponent. Looking at the snake man who suddenly appeared with a frown on his face, someone in Ji Yuhi's group said helplessly. Hearing this, Ji Yuhi frowned, glanced at the other party, and said, by this calculation, they already have 3 Do Kings. Even though Ji Yuhi was well prepared, he still felt a bit of pressure facing so many powerful snakemen. Meanwhile, the giant purple snake set up an energy barrier, and after circling in the sky for a few times, it let out a clear low hum. Then, the giant snake dived down towards the green flame without looking back. In the heavenly flame, shrill screams continued to be heard. After being loud for nearly half an hour, the blue flame gradually became weaker. At this time, the purple snake's body, which was originally covered with beautiful purple scales, was now charred black. A body that was more than 10 feet long was burned to only 2 or 3 feet. It is hard to imagine how many bones and blood were burned in this body by the heavenly flame. Ji Yufei watched closely from the side and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Queen Medusa had extraordinary perseverance and was able to endure such torture. If it were him, I'm afraid he would find it difficult to bear such pain. The charred skin of the charred giant snake that lay stiff and limp on the ground was slowly falling off, as if something was trying to break out of its body. Suddenly, a colorful light quickly rushed out from it. Ji Yufei saw it clearly. What appeared in front of him was a small and slender snake that was only about 2 centimeters long. It is covered with tiny colorful flakes, and has lavender snake pupils, giving it a faintly weird feel. A strange and fresh fragrance lingered around the body. Although it was just a snake now, it exuded elegance and nobility. Although the little snake does not look too ferocious, it is extremely beautiful. There are not many sharp attack parts on the colorful little snake's body. However, Ji Yufei knew that this small body contained a terrifying power that even the Do sovereign strongman did not dare to underestimate. Ji Yufei looked at it with interest, then his eyes turned to the green flame. He took out the green lotus seed and threw it over, and the green lotus seed slowly retracted the green lotus geocentric flame into the lotus core. Suddenly, a strange green flame rose from the empty lotus heart. The green lotus geocentric flame was collected and placed in the storage ring, and Ji Yufei looked at the colorful little snake. The little snake was also looking at him, and was eager to rub against his trouser leg. Seeing this cute little thing, Ji Yufei reached out and put it into his sleeve. A colorful little snake came out from his sleeve, wrapped around his arm, and gently rubbed his wrist like a spoiled child. It made a faint hissing sound, and seeing that Ji Yufei wasn't looking at it, it rubbed him gently again. Because Ji Yufei was the first person the colorful little snake saw, in the eyes of the little snake, this strange snake with 4 limbs and walking on 2 legs was like its relative. The little snake's purple eyes looked at Ji Yufei. 7-color heaven swallowing python generates curious emotions, emotional value increases by 50. Chapter 49 Yun Yun. He saved me again, how can I repay him? Ji Yufei was just about to touch the little guy's head, but when he heard the system prompt again, his hand movement paused slightly. Queen Medusa generates surprise and anger, and the emotion value increases by 100. Hearing the system prompt, Ji Yufei was actually not that surprised. He knew that there was another soul in the body of 7-color heaven swallowing python at this time. Queen Medusa and 7-color heaven swallowing python now occupy the same body. However, at this moment, Queen Medusa's soul has not yet taken the dominant position. However, Ji Yufei didn't pay much attention to this. He treated the soul of Queen Medusa in 7-color heaven swallowing python as if it were an ordinary clumsy colorful snake. When he was happy, he would touch its head. When it was naughty, it liked to bite his wrist, so Ji Yufei would gently pat its head as a punishment. Queen Medusa becomes angry, and the emotion value increases by 100. Queen Medusa has murderous emotions, emotional value increases by 100. Ji Yufei didn't care much about Queen Medusa's bad temper. With his cultivation base, he is not afraid that 7-color heaven swallowing python will suddenly turn into Queen Medusa. Even if he changed, he had 10,000 ways to prevent the queen from retaliating against him. At this time, in the holy city of the snake people, slowed down by a group of snake people, Ji Yuhi and his group had a hard time killing the enemies around them. Queen Medusa's aura suddenly disappeared. Yun Yun whispered. The next moment, the green lotus geocentric flame was taken away by Ji Yufei in the temple. The heavenly flame's aura suddenly disappeared, and no one could sense its presence. Ji Yuhi was holding an alchemy pill in his hand and was about to throw it to the person next to him when he was suddenly stunned. He stared at the temple where the green smoke was gradually dissipating, frowned and said, "Why did the heavenly flame aura disappear as well? The energy fluctuations inside are extremely calm. As for the heavenly flame, could it have been destroyed by Queen Medusa?" Yun Yun also said with a little hesitation. As an alchemist, He is more aware of the energy of heavenly flame. Could it be that Queen Medusa failed to evolve? There is no point in blindly speculating like this. Hope is right in front of us. He and his group are heading towards the temple. Outside the temple, the purple light curtain shattered, and cracks also appeared inside the temple that could not be seen. Only after the barrier left by Queen Medusa was completely broken did He and his group fight their way into the temple. Damn it, where's heavenly flame? He's spiritual perception quickly enveloped the entire island. He keenly explored every corner, but still did not find any trace of heavenly flame. Then, a rare hint of anger appeared on He's originally calm face. There were many other snake people in the holy city, and they discovered that the aura of Her Majesty the Queen, who was the most powerful among them, had disappeared. The whole city gradually fell into deathly silence as Queen Medusa's aura disappeared. After a moment, pairs of hateful eyes turned to He and the man in black robe in midair. A snake man finally couldn't help himself and shouted angrily, "Your Majesty." Seeing that something was wrong, He and his group wanted to leave, but were stopped on the spot. Come as you please, leave as you please, what do you think of my snake people as? Yancy had a bad temper and the flaming do chi on his body was like a rising flame. He looked down at He and the others angrily. He's light blue flame swept out, and although the blue flame was very powerful, Yancy was not afraid. Instead, his face was filled with a sneer of disdain. He stretched out his hand and clenched it slightly. The fiery red do chi on his body suddenly condensed into a flaming palm and shot out violently. The flaming palm wrapped around the blue fireball, and the blue flame was crushed to pieces. At the first contact, it was obvious that Yancy had a slight advantage in strength. I'll stop them, you go find heavenly flame and find a way to escape. Faced with so many powerful people, Yun Yun could only resort to the worst strategy. After all, she was the only Do sovereign among them. Hearing this, He nodded heavily, and then fled quickly under the cover of Yun Yun. Get back here. Seeing the actions of He and others, the three Yancy shouted angrily and launched an attack. Yun Yun, however, easily summoned thousands of green wind blades, each of which carried a terrifying pressure. Your opponent is me, she said lightly. However, during the stalemate, Yun Yun suddenly stopped moving. She looked to the northwest and muttered to herself, 2 more people have come. It seems like we should retreat. The green do chi wings behind him spread out, and Yun Yun turned into a black light and quickly disappeared. She fled outside the holy city of Medusa, but was caught up by them again. 5 people surrounded her, but Yun Yun's fighting spirit was higher than ever. She drew out the sword, and moved as lightly as a wild goose, and attacked quickly. Damn it! From the time Yun Yun suddenly attacked to the time one of the 5 snake men in green robes was injured and retreated, it only took about 10 seconds. By the time everyone came to their senses, the green-robed snake man, who was among the strongest in the snake people, had already been injured and was running backwards in a panic. She's too fast. Don't fight her alone. Use the 5 snakes poison seal. Looking at the injured green-robed snake man, the gray-robed old man shouted anxiously with a gloomy face. Immediately, at the moment when the 5 people formed seals, a circle of faint energy shield appeared out of thin air and wrapped them tightly. 5 snake poison seal. Activate. In a moment, an extremely huge energy column suddenly appeared in the sky. The huge energy column suddenly began to churn, and after a moment, it turned into a green energy snake more than 10 feet long. Yun Yun started fighting with the green snake, and more snake people came to join the battle. The green snake's strength is not that terrible, but it is very annoying. If she delays any longer, even 10 Do sovereigns might not be enough. Just then, a faint voice came from the horizon. I didn't expect that when we met again, you would step into such a dangerous situation again. Yun Yun is shocked, and his emotion value increases by 100 suddenly. Yun Yun heard a familiar voice and looked up in disbelief. Just in time to meet the deep, dark eyes of Ji Yu Fei who was flying in the air. He just tapped the air with his finger and a flame flew out from his fingertips. The huge green energy snake rolled violently at the mere touch of the flame, and disappeared completely in a few breaths. This combined attack technique was broken, and the 5 Do kings of the snake people suffered severe backlash. The underworld produces fear and suspicion, and the emotion value increases by 20 inches. Your Excellency, but do you want to rescue this person? Ji Yufei glanced at him coldly, and a powerful pressure swept over him. The 5 Do kings of the snake tribe looked at each other, their eyes full of fear. Flame thorns generate fear emotions, emotional value increased by 15 inches. Your Excellency, we've got today's score. Yanxi and his companions restrained their fighting spirit, said some harsh words, and left in disgrace with the surrounding snake people. Yun Yun becomes grateful, and his emotion value increases by 100. Yun Yun becomes excited, and the emotion value increases by 100. I didn't expect that he would save me again. How can I repay him? After Yun Yun recognized Ji Yufei, her eyes remained on him without moving away. Yun Yun generates grateful and heart-moving emotions, and the emotion value increases by 100. Who is this person? He is so young, yet he possesses such a terrifying cultivation base. In the distance, Ji Yuhe, who was fleeing in a hurry, of course, saw this scene, and his usually calm face was once again filled with huge waves. Gu He is shocked and confused, and his emotion value increases by 50. Chapter 50, The Strength of the Snake People. Still vulnerable, the figure hanging in the air gradually became clearer. Yun Yun's beautiful eyes shone with a strange light, and for the first time she felt at ease. Yun Yun feels relieved, and the emotion value increases by 100. She is the Yunlin sect master, and she has always been the one protecting thousands of people. I have almost never been protected by someone like today, and the only 2 times were by Ji Yufei. What's more, Ji Yufei has a young face and is so powerful. Yun Yun becomes grateful, and his emotion value increases by 100. Ji Yufei landed beside Yun Yun. Before he could speak, Yun Yun opened her mouth and sincerely thanked him. Thank you, you saved me again. Yun Yun has a favorable emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. Ji Yufei smiled faintly at her. His calm and composed look was completely different from the man who had just been domineering and protected her. Yun Yun looked at him with sparkling eyes and lowered the hood on her head. This was the second time she experienced the role of a hero saving a beauty. Although she didn't understand what emotions were surging in her heart, she wanted to get closer to Ji Yufei. At this moment, in Yun Yun's heart, her favorability towards Ji Yufei has almost reached its limit. When Ji Yufei heard the system prompt, he was stunned for a moment and his eyes changed slightly. Yun Yun has a heart-throb emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. Her feelings towards him were not just limited to liking him, there was more to it. She stared at Ji Yufei's face intently, her eyes almost greedy, but she was able to hide the joy of reunion after a long separation very well. Yun Yun has a happy mood, and the mood value increases by 100 during the time she was separated from Ji Yufei. Whenever she thought of some of the things that happened between them in the Warcraft Mountains, all she could think of was the image of Ji Yufei. He happened to save her from severe injury and helped her break the seal of Amethyst-Winged Lion King. The two had a brief physical contact. The burning palm seemed to press against her back again, causing her heart to tremble. Originally, she thought that the two of them had never met again since that separation. Unexpectedly, this time when he was in danger, it was Ji Yufei who saved him again. Yun Yun has the emotion of missing you, and the emotion value increases by 100. She had a calm look in her eyes as she stood beside him. Her small face, hidden under a black hood, looked cold and noble, with her long black hair hanging down. She put the thin sword at her side, with blood still tucked on it. If there were no emotional value prompts, Ji Yufei would never have been able to detect Yun Yun's emotional fluctuations. It's a small matter. Ji Yufei pretended to be calm and smiled. Through the emotional values provided by Yun Yun, Ji Yufei also understood some of her thoughts. However, Yun Yun is not like Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin, who are free from all worries and can be brought around by others. Behind her is an entire huge sect. She has too many baggages and can't let them go. There was no need for Ji Yufei to force Yun Yun to give up everything and follow him. Therefore, after chatting, Ji Yufei planned to leave. He and Yun Yun each have their own things to do, and their fate can only support this brief intersection. After that, you will have to walk your own path, like two lines that no longer intersect. Ji Yufei didn't intend to say these words out loud. Because he understood, Yun Yun must understand, she just didn't want to understand. The people of the Snake Clan, who were originally very rampant, now just looked at this mysterious strong man with fear and did not dare to act rashly. After all, Ji Yufei's strength was beyond their imagination. Even the 5 snakes poison seal, a combined attack formation of 5 Do Kings, was easily broken by this man. Unless the elders of the tribe took action, they would not dare to go up and die. Among them, the older snake man leader, Yin Shi, looked at Ji Yufei with fear, and quickly rushed into the holy city. Here, after Ji Yufei and Yun Yun finished chatting, there was a brief silence between the two. Yun Yun knew very well that Ji Yufei was leaving, but she couldn't stop him. Yun feels reluctant to leave, and her emotion value increases by 100, but when she saw Ji Yufei was about to leave, she suddenly stopped. Yun has doubts, emotional value increases by 100. Ji Yufei's expression remained unchanged, and he whispered to her, a few of the old tribesmen are coming to support their young clansmen. Because, just now he felt that the four Do sovereign auras that had always been silent in the holy city of the snake people suddenly began to move. Originally, no matter how they fought with the snake people, no matter how many snake people Ji Yuhi, Yun and others killed in the holy city, the four Do sovereign auras had never moved. Ji Yufei was very clear about these four people. They were the descendants of the snake people. However, these four people will not act rashly due to their old age. Unless it is a critical moment, they will just stand by and watch. Because if a war breaks out, all your energy will be depleted. They never act rashly, which is why the four old guys have been able to live so long. Yun frowned and looked towards the sky in the distance. There is the direction of the holy city of the snake people. Although her cultivation base reached Do sovereign, it was still far inferior to those four old guys. Therefore, one could only sense a vague powerful and domineering aura approaching rapidly. We, the snake people, will not allow ourselves to be bullied. As a rather sharp voice was heard, the snake people not far away looked up one after another, their faces filled with ecstasy and respect. Have these four old guys finally been unable to hold back and decided to take action? In Ji Yufei's sight, four old snake women were rushing out of the city quickly. However, in an instant, four extremely oppressive auras approached, and four gloomy-looking snake-like old women stood proudly in the air, with Do Chi transformed into wings behind them. Their eyes were all fixed on Ji Yufei. At this time, Yun, who was standing next to Ji Yufei, murmured in disbelief, "Four Do sovereigns." Moreover, the snake people are good at combined attack formations. The combined power of four people is far greater than Do sovereign, and can even reach Do ancestor realm. This is trouble. Looking at the lineup of the snake people, Yun's pretty face showed panic. She looked at Ji Yufei with some uneasiness. If she were alone, she would be unable to contend with these four people. On the other side, Ji Yuhi and his group, who had stopped running because they thought the situation was settled after Ji Yufei's action, also changed their expressions. The information they had previously found about the snake people did not mention these four Do sovereigns at all. I didn't expect that the snake people's foundation was so huge, and there were four Do sovereigns. And with Ji Yuhi's vision, he could naturally see it. These four people are not just ordinary Do sovereigns, they are all the best among Do sovereigns. Any one of these four Do sovereigns would be enough to crush the people brought by Ji Yuhi. Not to mention, there are quite a few snakemen troops over there. In addition, the snakemen from the 8 tribes of the Snakeman clan are still rushing. Here, Ji Yuhi couldn't help but regret not evacuating in time. He sighed secretly, thinking that it would be extremely difficult to escape from now on. However, when Yun, Ji Yuhi and others were worried, Ji Yufei's face remained calm. There was no disturbance at all due to the sudden appearance of the four Do sovereigns. Chapter 51 Yun, will we have a chance to meet again in the future? The four of them have the combined attack skill Do sovereign, and their strength should not be underestimated. If they were replaced by ordinary Do ancestors at this moment, they would probably have to think twice. But Ji Yufei is no ordinary Do ancestor. Even though several Do sovereigns had combined attack skills that could greatly increase their combat power, they could not pose any threat to Ji Yufei. In the sky, the four old snake women who appeared stared at the overly young opponent cautiously, without any thought of underestimating the enemy. Form a formation. Suddenly, one of the old women screamed, and then the four of them looked at each other and finally took a step forward. If Ji Yufei's strength was not that strong, they naturally wouldn't have to fight so hard. However, the moment the four of them saw Ji Yufei just now, they felt their scalps tingling. Their subconscious told them that Ji Yufei was very dangerous. That's why they felt that they had to use their strongest means from the beginning. A cold green light covered the sky. Many powerful people behind Ji Yuhi showed fear in their eyes, but Ji Yufei just glanced at them. Green light suddenly shot towards Ji Yufei. Yun becomes worried, emotional value increases by 100. The green light was so fast that it seemed like it would penetrate Ji Yufei's heart in just a moment. He raised his right palm, and the green light suddenly stopped in front of his palm. Ji Yufei flicked it lightly, and the green light turned around and turned into several thin lines that blasted towards the four snake-like old women. Seeing this, the four old women tried to avoid it in panic, but were still injured by the attack and spat out blood. The four Do sovereigns were naturally no match for Ji Yufei and were easily defeated by him. But the next moment, Ji Yufei suddenly frowned, causing Yun Yun to look at him worriedly. He felt a sudden slight pain in his cuffs. Queen Medusa becomes angry, and the emotion value increases by 100. Ji Yufei understood that the situation just now might be caused by Queen Medusa. Although seven-color heaven-swallowing python has a mischievous personality, it would not tease him like this. Perhaps, it was because she had attacked the four elders of her snake man tribe that Queen Medusa felt extremely angry. This emotion helped her temporarily suppress the seven-color heaven-swallowing python soul and gain control of her body. If you dare to stand in my way again, you will die. After that terrifying blow, Ji Yufei did not continue to attack, but stood there, looking at them coldly. Snake Elder becomes fearful, emotion value increases by 10. Snake Elder becomes fearful, emotional value increases by 10. The snake people retreated one after another out of fear. Guhei is shocked, emotion value increases by 50. The shock in Ji Yuhi's group's eyes had not yet dissipated, and their faces were filled with undisguised shock. Ji Yufei is really an evildoer. Yun Yun had seen Ji Yufei's strength that goes against the heavens so many times that she wasn't surprised anymore. She just thought silently in her heart, this guy has improved again. At this moment, Ji Yuhi in the distance had a flicker in his eyes as he looked at how harmoniously Yun Yun and Ji Yufei were getting along, as if he remembered something. He murmured unconsciously, Yun Yun and this person obviously know each other. Could it be that the alchemy pill was given by this boy? This boy is so young, how could he refine such a perfect alchemy pill? Guhei is shocked, emotion value increases by 50. Of course he didn't want to believe it, but now it seemed that this was probably the truth. In fact, Ji Yuhi has always had a crush on Yun Yun and has dreamed of being a hero and saving the beauty. He knows that he is not as strong as Yun Yun, so he works hard on refining medicine. Therefore, at this moment, seeing that the person who saves the beauty is not me, I can't help feeling bitter. But how could he compare to Ji Yufei, that enchanting genius? Ji Yuhi was secretly sad. Here, Yun Yun hesitated again and again, biting her lips lightly, and finally spoke hesitantly, whispering, will we have a chance to meet again in the future? I mean, where is your family? Is there any chance for me to visit? Yun Yun spoke to Ji Yufei very tactfully. Yun Yun becomes anxious, and her emotion value increases by 100. She knew clearly that Ji Yufei would give the answer, but she still did not give up and wanted to hear his answer. She still had a glimmer of expectation in her heart. Yun Yun has anticipation emotion value increases by 100, you have too many things to do, I'm afraid you won't have the chance to travel far, maybe next time, we'll meet again if we're lucky. Ji Yufei looked at the cold and aloof woman in front of him, his eyes trembling slightly. Her fair and delicate face had a calm expression, but there was a subtle expectation in her clear eyes. He replied somewhat cruelly. However, Ji Yufei also left some room in his words. His gentle rejection made Yun Yun feel disappointed for a moment. Yun Yun feels sad, and her mood value increases by 100. Her life, if placed in the Jia Ma Empire, can be considered quite successful. At a young age, as a girl, she achieved the position of sect master of a large sect and climbed to the cultivation base realm of Do Sovereign. Although she is not second to none, she has countless disciples who admire her and admire the name, Yun Yun. Looking back, it was a glorious time. But now, she realized that those achievements were not advantages at all, but perhaps just things that hindered her progress. If she is not a sect master, but just an ordinary person, can she pursue her desires without restraint? Can I follow Ji Yufei and leave without hesitation this time? Yun Yun was in a very complicated mood. She looked at Ji Yufei deeply, with unknown emotions brewing in her beautiful eyes. Yun Yun feels reluctant to leave, and her emotion value increases by 100. The two of them parted ways. Little guy, you have to be honest, otherwise, I will punish you. After saying goodbye to Yun Yun, Ji Yufei came to a secret place and took out the little snake, which was as warm and cool as jade, from his sleeve. He placed the little snake in his palm, raised it to his eyes, and stared at her closely. Noticing Ji Yufei's gaze, the colorful little snake raised its little head high, its pupils, which were light purple, full of spirituality. The snake's mouth opened slightly, and a cold snake tongue flicked out lightly. The snake's body moved close to Ji Yufei's face, trying very hard, as if it wanted to lick his face. A simple and silly look. At this time, it was obvious that the seven-color heaven-swallowing python soul was dominating this body. However, Ji Yufei knew clearly that the suppressed soul of Queen Medusa could still feel everything in the outside world. However, Ji Yufei doesn't care about these. With his strength, He is not afraid of any trouble Queen Medusa may cause. Afterwards, Ji Yufei rushed back to Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin. Because they were protected by the Lion King, Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin were still very safe even though there were snake people coming from all directions to defend the holy city of Medusa, and no snake people dared to come up and offend them. That sixth-order flying monster and its mysterious master became the most feared existences in the hearts of the snake people. After Ji Yufei came back, Xiao Yixian noticed his good mood, looked at him, and asked with a smile, "It seems that you got the heavenly flame." Ji Yufei nodded, and Xiao Yixian smiled, her beautiful eyes full of joy. Xiao Yixian becomes happy, and his emotion value increases by 100 afterwards. The amethyst-winged Lion King carried the three people away from the holy city of Medusa. Ji Yufei planned to find a quiet place to refine and absorb the green lotus geocentric flame. Chapter 52, This woman is so seductive. Right here, after finding a suitable cave, Ji Yufei let the Lion King slowly descend to the ground. Next, he asked the Lion King to look after Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin. In addition, Ji Yufei also set up a protective energy shield in the area where they were moving. He was worried that the energy fluctuations from the fusion of heavenly flame would affect them. Wait here for me. It shouldn't take long for me to refine the heavenly flame. After giving his final instructions, Ji Yufei walked into the cave and took out the lotus seat from the storage ring. Above the lotus, a small green flame is burning quietly. In the original novel, Xiaoyan narrowly escaped death when he merged the green lotus geocentric flame, and almost lost his life even with the help of Yao Lao. Ji Yufei naturally doesn't need to worry about these, because the green lotus geocentric flame is even weaker than the sea heart flame. Using the sea heart flame to suppress the green lotus geocentric flame, refining it will be easier than the last time. Next, Ji Yufei raised his right palm upward, and a ball of blue flame ignited without wind. The sea heart flame, as deep and quiet as the sea water, and the green lotus geocentric flame, as blazing as a green lotus, gradually blended in his hands. Powerful energy fluctuations swept out in an instant, with Ji Yufei as the center. The ends of his hair rustled in the strong wind, and the two balls of fireworks merged violently. Ji Yufei had a calm expression. Half a day later, a new heavenly flame was born in Ji Yufei's hands. This new heavenly flame was formed, and the energy dissipated everywhere fed back to Ji Yufei's Do Qi. In addition, Ji Yufei's cultivation and accumulation since he came out of Ji Yu domain. Ji Yufei closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, a strange light flashed in his eyes, and his whole aura rose steadily. The pressure emanating from it frightened the amethyst-winged Lion King not far away, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. 9-star Do ancestor. Just one step away, and we will reach the Do venerable realm. Ji Yufei felt the thickness and fullness of the Do Qi in his body. After a pause, he called up the System Properties panel. Host, Ji Yufei age, 16 open black lens bracket cultivation base. 9-star Do ancestor close black lens bracket qualification. Level 101 physique. Level 78 soul. Spirit realm initial stage kung fu. Great Heart Sutra heavenly elementary Do technique. Flame Cage Earth Grade Top Level Sun Finger Earth Grade Median Level Star Step Earth Grade Top Level Movement Do Technique Alchemy. Tier 7 Peak Open Black Lens Bracket Wrong A Heavenly Flame. Sea Heart Flame U Green Lotus Geocentric Flame Close Black Lens Bracket Emotional Value Accumulation. 14,930 Ji Yufei's eyes fell on the last column, and he felt very satisfied when he saw his emotional value accumulated. Since leaving Ji Yu domain, the emotional value gained in the past few months is more than what I gained in the previous few years. Because everyone around him is a person of luck, the emotional value they provide far exceeds that of staying in the Ji Yu domain. However, although this emotional value seems to be a lot, now he needs much more emotional value than before if he wants to improve in all aspects. The strength threshold is getting higher and higher, and more emotional values are required. Ji Yufei plans to accumulate some more and then upgrade his skills. As for alchemy, although the panel shows that he is only a tier 7 peak now. However, Ji Yufei already had the ability to refine the tier 8 alchemy pill. Because of his enormous spiritual strength, he had already entered the spiritual realm. The alchemist soul realm is divided into 4 layers: mortal realm, spirit realm, heavenly realm, and emperor realm. Each realm is divided into 3 small levels: early stage, middle stage, and late stage. Reaching the spirit realm means that alchemists can refine tier 8 alchemy pills, those in the heavenly realm can refine tier 9 alchemy pills, and those in the imperial realm can refine imperial alchemy pills. No one has reached such a realm since ancient times. Ji Yufei's spiritual strength has reached the spiritual realm. He only needs to try to refine a Tier 8 alchemy pill to successfully upgrade and become a Tier 8 alchemist. Hiss. While Ji Yufei was thinking, seven-color heaven swallowing python suddenly crawled out from his sleeve and called to Ji Yufei like a spoiled child. It rubbed its head against his hand anxiously. Little guy, you must be hungry. Ji Yufei smiled and took out a earth fire lotus seed from the storage ring and fed it to the little snake. Seven-color heaven swallowing python produces dissatisfaction, emotional value increases by 50. The earth fire lotus seed looked very small. The little snake glanced at Ji Yufei with disdain, and its eyes seemed to be saying, how can this fill you up? However, Ji Yufei had already handed it to her, and it swallowed it with difficulty. In fact, the earth fire lotus seed, which looks inconspicuous, takes hundreds of years to condense. The energy contained in it is enormous, and even if a strong person from Do sovereign realm takes it, it will be of great benefit. After the little snake took it, violent energy suddenly rushed into its body, and its stomach swelled up a little, as if it was having difficulty digesting it. Little guy, it seems that you can't digest this thing. Do you want help? Looking at the little snake's slightly bulging belly, which looked even a little funny, Ji Yufei smiled, stretched out his hand, and was about to touch the little snake's belly. Just as he was about to help, suddenly, a strong light burst out from the body of seven-color heaven swallowing python. The light suddenly expanded and submerged the small snake in the center. Ji Yufei narrowed his eyes. At this moment, he could clearly feel that the seven-color heaven swallowing python in his hand, which had originally been small, had suddenly grown larger. At the same time, it seemed softer and more delicate. After a moment, the empty feeling disappeared as Ji Yufei embraced his right arm. Instead, it is a place full of flexibility and softness. The smooth touch like a soft catkin filled Ji Yufei's senses. After his palm touched that soft thing as if it was a woman's delicate body, Ji Yufei seemed to remember something. At that moment, his expression suddenly became extremely strange. It seems that the Queen Medusa spirit has temporarily gained the upper hand. Ji Yufei slowly lowered his head and looked directly into the beautiful eyes of the woman in his arms. He saw a pair of bright and fierce eyes, staring at him with a bit of coldness. Her face was full of anger and her eyes were cold, as if the murderous intent to cut Ji Yufei into pieces was slowly creeping up Ji Yufei's back. Queen Medusa becomes angry, and her emotion value increases by 100. Those beautiful eyes were raised, the corners of the eyes were flying, the red lips were tightly pursed, and there was a captivating charm in her every frown and smile. She just stared at him fiercely. And Ji Yufei was stunned. Looking at that perfect face that was so beautiful that it could be called enchanting, Ji Yufei almost couldn't take his eyes away for a moment, and his face felt hot. This enchanting face seemed like a masterpiece created by God. Even with such bright eyes that contained a hint of anger, there was still an enchanting charm that was difficult to conceal. This woman is a beauty in almost every man's heart. At this moment, Queen Medusa was naked on her delicate body, and her elastic and tender skin was tightly attached to Ji Yufei. The enlarged pretty face in front of him gave him a great shock. Queen Medusa lying in Ji Yufei's arms in such a charming posture can be said to have brought Ji Yufei an incomparable pleasure. He only felt his cheeks burning, his whole body stiffening, and a ball of evil fire surging in his abdomen. Chapter 53, You will thank me in the future. Queen Medusa has an angry emotion, and the emotion value increases by 100. Queen Medusa generates resentment. Emotion value 100. Although Queen Medusa's pretty face was somewhat flushed due to embarrassment, it was mostly filled with a murderous look. Her cheeks were slightly red with embarrassment because it was the first time she had such close physical contact with a man. But this young man actually dared to offend her so much. Hateful! Queen Medusa shouted coldly, and an arm as delicate and slender as white jade quickly reached out towards Ji Yufei's neck. The soft fingertips were about to touch Ji Yufei's skin, and the boneless little hand seemed to be about to break his neck in the next second. However, in Ji Yufei's eyes, her speed was very slow. Just before Queen Medusa was about to succeed, Ji Yufei quickly reached out and grabbed her snow-white wrist. He held her slender white wrist in his palm, and her hot body temperature caused her delicate body to tremble noticeably. Queen Medusa, how can you repay kindness with enmity? Seeing Queen Medusa filled with murderous intent, Ji Yufei smiled and spoke slowly. Hearing this, Queen Medusa's pretty face turned slightly cold, and her beautiful eyes were filled with coldness. She said coldly, You are repaying kindness with hatred. What favor have you done to me? Queen Medusa generates anger and surprise emotions, and the emotion value increases by 100. Although Queen Medusa showed this on her face, she was still a little surprised in her heart. Ji Yufei was powerful, far beyond her imagination. She just stretched out her hand to attack, seemingly without using any do qi, but it was already the fastest speed, and with that kind of force, the neck of an ordinary do king would be broken if he was touched by her. But at that time, Ji Yufei did not seem to use do qi. The powerful grip left her with no power to resist. If I hadn't fed you the earth fire lotus seeds, how could you have recovered so quickly? Ji Yufei laughed. I am still able to obtain such resources in the clan. After hearing what he said, Queen Medusa said unconvinced. Queen Medusa becomes dissatisfied, and her emotion value increases by 100. He is clearly forcing the sale. You were extremely weak at the time. If you were found by Ji Yuhe and his group, you would be in great danger. Ji Yufei continued. Humph, you have seen the strength of our snake people. Those people from Ji Yuhe are not even close to us. Queen Medusa said with disdain. In short, she didn't recognize that Ji Yufei had done her any favor. However, what Queen Medusa said was indeed correct. The strength of the snake people is by no means comparable to that of the Jia Empire, because their enemies are several surrounding empires. If the people of Jia Empire could threaten the snake people, then the snake people would not have existed for so many years. A mere Ji Yuhe, even with a large group of helpers, could not really do anything to the snake people. This time it was just because she happened to merge with Heavenly Flame that gave them the opportunity to take advantage of her. It doesn't matter if you don't agree. Anyway, you will thank me in the future. Seeing that Queen Medusa was stubborn and refused to admit it no matter what, Ji Yufei just snorted and did not continue the topic. There was a brief silence between the two of them, and Ji Yufei's eyes became more and more vague. At this moment, his eyes were unconsciously attracted by the snow-white scenery under Queen Medusa's neck. The soft and perfect lines rose and fell with Queen Medusa's breathing. The slight vibration of her chest when she spoke was also particularly attractive. This was the first time that Ji Yufei saw a female body, and Queen Medusa's body was so perfect and hot that he couldn't help but breathe faster. Queen Medusa becomes angry, and the emotion value increases by 100. Human, when I recover, I will tear you into pieces. How dare you stare at me so offensively? Queen Medusa was of course keenly aware of the fiery gazes falling on her naked body. She gritted her teeth, and dazzling flames flashed in her beautiful eyes. However, she also knew that she was no match for Ji Yufei. Are you planning to keep me as a pet? After a moment, she suppressed her inner anger and made a tingling sound. That voice was like a little hook, hoarse and alluring. Ji Yufei smiled and shook his head, saying softly. It's that little guy who is willing to follow me. He looked at Queen Medusa glaring at him angrily, the corners of his mouth curled up, and then continued, don't be so angry, follow me, I will allow you to recover quickly and reach a realm you have never reached before. Ji Yufei also seemed to feel that something was wrong, and after saying this, he let go of Queen Medusa's wrist. It was because the two of them were in excessive contact that Ji Yufei's face turned red and he didn't know where to look. As soon as Ji Yufei loosened his hand, Queen Medusa quickly pulled the quilt beside the stone platform and covered herself with it. That charming curve, even covered by the quilt, still looks extremely attractive. At the edge of the stone platform, a lavender snake tail hung down gently, swaying slightly, releasing a wild temptation. To be honest, facing such a hot body, Ji Yufei almost couldn't hold back just now. If Queen Medusa had already regained her human form and had no snake tail at this time, Ji Yufei would probably have been unable to resist and executed her on the spot. Any man who sees such an attractive and charming woman will have his blood boiled. Human, if you don't kill me now, you will regret it in the future. I will never let you go. You will pay for the humiliation you suffered today someday. Queen Medusa looked at Ji Yufei again and shouted coldly. The delicate body slowly crawled down, and suddenly, the quilt wrapped around the body was compressed into an attractive arc. Immediately, a strong light burst out, and Queen Medusa's body slowly shrank, and finally turned into a colorful little snake. Ji Yufei picked up the little snake and touched her cold body helplessly. In the imperial capital of Jia, deep in the magnificent palace, there is a hall. At this moment, in the hall, an old man in a linen robe was sitting at the first seat in the hall. Next to the old man stood a tall woman wearing a luxurious brocade robe. This woman had a beautiful appearance and a cool and elegant temperament. Moreover, underneath this cool and elegant temperament, there was even a bit of majesty that was cultivated by the royal family. What? The old man and the young woman beside him looked at each other, both with deep surprise in their eyes. A sixth-level monster appeared on the eastern border. Looking at the letter in his hand again, Jia Xingtian couldn't help but mutter. On the side, Tianyi continued his words, with surprise in his voice as well. A teenager can actually ride a sixth-level magical beast. You know, these sixth-level monsters are extremely rare in the entire Jia Ma Empire, not to mention that there are people who can ride on their backs. Moreover, the sixth-level monsters are very arrogant and will fight to the death if offended by humans. How did this sixth-level monster become the mount of a human boy? Jia Xingtian looked gloomy. I just received news that the Yunlin sect master, Dan Wang Guhe and others also seemed to be heading to the eastern border during this period. He and Tianyi looked at each other, and both felt that the matter was becoming more and more confusing. Recommend some food supplies. Chapter 54 Adding suspicion to Xingtian. Uninvited guest. In the hall, Jia Xingtian and Yao Yi fell into a brief silence. Yao Yi thought for a moment and guessed, Grandpa Emperor, could it be that some precious treasure has appeared on the eastern border? Very likely. Hearing this, Jia Xingtian nodded. Those who went to the eastern border this time were not ordinary people. How could it be possible that they all appeared at the eastern border at the same time? Yunlin sect master is fine, that woman often goes out for training, but why did Dan King Ji he suddenly come to the eastern border? Alchemists like him are usually heavily protected and kept in extremely safe places. Also, in the news sent back from the border, those mysterious boys and girls who were riding on rank 6 flying monsters. A group of people like this would only appear there if some valuable treasure appeared in the world. Jia Xingtian narrowed his eyes, and a gleam of brilliance flashed in his cloudy eyes. He said, "It seems that it is time for me to move my old bones." As the ruler of the royal family, Jia Xingtian would never allow any uncontrollable things to happen in his country. The eastern border is a very sensitive place. Beyond the border, in the Tager Desert, live the snake people. Jia Xingtian was well aware of the background of the snake people. Back then, the Jia Ma Empire joined forces with several surrounding empires and could only barely drive the snake people into the depths of the desert but were unable to completely eradicate them. They were powerful and cruel. The Jia Ma Empire had to gather the forces of several major empires to barely expel the snake people. This shows that the overall strength of the snake people is far beyond what the Jia Ma Empire alone can contend with. This matter is probably related to the snake people occupying the Tager Desert. Therefore, Jia Xingtian decided to go and see it with his own eyes, just to be prepared. Grandpa Emperor, this matter is of great importance. Yer also wants to go with you. Hearing this, Yao Yi hurriedly requested. Okay, this might be a good experience. It will be of great benefit to your strength and knowledge. Jia Xingtian raised his eyebrows, but did not refuse. After all, he is old, and he hopes that Tianyi can gain more experience, become stronger, have more knowledge, and be prepared to rule the entire vast empire. Soon, a huge flying beast flew out from the Jia Ma palace. On the back of this flying beast, there was not only the Dou sovereign warrior Jia Xingtian, but also a Dou king and 7 or 8 Dolan guards. These top masters are naturally used to protect Tianyi's safety. After all, when going to the eastern border, Jia Xingtian would definitely need to act alone sometimes. Without Dou sovereign's close protection, the safety of Tianyi, the future successor to the royal family, must be guaranteed. Jia Xingtian picked and chose, and finally selected several people, and took them with him on the journey to the eastern border. When there was movement in the palace, other big families in the imperial capital also received some news and paid close attention. Is the news true? How can a group of teenagers have a 6th-level magical beast as a mount? My father once encountered a 6th-level monster. Just by looking into its eyes, the terrifying pressure was enough to make even a Dou sovereign weaker than him stand up straight. Why did the Yunlin sect master and Dan King Ji he show up again? Could it be that some treasure really appeared in the eastern border? Many big families were discussing this matter secretly. After all, it happened on the eastern border, which is a very sensitive area. The eastern border of the Jia Ma Empire, where it meets the Yager Desert. Ji Yufei put the 7-color heaven-swallowing python, which had not yet woken up, back into his sleeve and then walked out of the cave. The touch of Queen Medusa's soft and smooth skin seemed to still linger on his fingertips, and the fiery lines, her beautiful eyes flashing with anger, and her blushing cheeks kept reappearing in Ji Yufei's mind. Because of some beautiful things that just happened between me and Queen Medusa. Even though Ji Yufei didn't actually do anything, his face was still a little red at this moment. From time to time, the image of Queen Medusa's seductive naked body appeared in his mind, which he could not control. Brother Ji Yufei, what's wrong with you? Seeing Ji Yufei acting strangely, Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin, who were waiting outside the cave, asked with some concern. Xiao Yixian becomes concerned, emotion value increases by 100. Qing Lin has a caring emotion, and the emotion value increases by 70 inches. It's okay. Perhaps I spent too much energy refining heavenly flame this time. If this were said to someone else, it would indeed be true. Refining heavenly flame was a life-threatening matter. If you are not careful, heavenly flame will attack you and turn you into ashes. Monsters like Ji Yufei who could easily refine green lotus geocentric flame were outliers. Ji Yufei smiled, covered up the past and did not say anything about what had just happened. Of course Xiao Yixian noticed that he was hiding something, but she chose not to ask. If Ji Yufei wanted to tell her, he would naturally tell her. Then you should take a rest. Xiao Yixian said worriedly. Xiao Yixian becomes worried, and his emotion value increases by 100. Her undisguised concern warmed Ji Yufei's heart. He touched Xiao Yixian's head and responded softly, and Xiao Yixian then smiled faintly. Afterwards, Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin went to make a fire and cook. The life of 3 people and 1 beast seems to be very peaceful, happy and comfortable. This kind of life was something Qing Lin had never dared to imagine before. At this moment, she stared silently at Ji Yufei's back, and was very glad that she had made the decision. Qing Lin generates satisfied emotions, emotional value increases by 70. When Ji Yufei heard the system prompt, he paused and continued to think about where to go next. After taking away the green lotus geocentric flame, Ji Yufei actually planned to leave the Jia Ma Empire. Although there are indeed some people with higher luck in this Jia Ma Empire, Ji Yufei already has Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin by his side, and Amethyst-Winged Lion King can barely make up half of the group. For the time being, he did not have a strong desire to find those people with better luck. Along the way, the 3 of them did not travel fast, and the Lion King would stop after flying for a few hours. Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin were chatting, and the 2 girls' eyes were sparkling. Ji Yufei watched them quietly from the side, with a smile on his face unconsciously. Yes, guide the dou qi in your body and feel the pent-up energy in the air. Sometimes, Ji Yufei would patiently guide the ignorant Qing Lin cultivation. With the blessing of the terrifying physique of triple jade green snake flower pupils, Qing Lin can directly absorb the energy in the bodies of the snake creatures she controls, so naturally she makes rapid progress. A day later, they stopped in a secluded place to rest. Qing Lin was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, breathing in and out. Ji Yufei was originally observing her cultivation state, but suddenly, his brows slightly frowned, because he sensed that a Dou sovereign aura was approaching not far away. Chapter 55. Someone from the Heavenly Snake Mansion wants to take Qing Lin away. Brother Ji Yufei, what's wrong? Looking at Ji Yufei's expression, Xiao Yixian asked in surprise. She guessed in her heart that Ji Yufei might have sensed someone approaching. Someone is coming towards us. Ji Yufei's rather relaxed tone made Xiao Yixian feel much more at ease. Who could it be? Xiao Yixian looked towards the distant horizon curiously. At this time, Qing Lin opened his eyes with a slightly strange expression, because she had just clearly sensed that the breath coming from afar seemed to be somewhat close to her bloodline. After a while, a light blue figure slowly emerged in front of the 3 people from the horizon. This woman in green had a green veil on her cheeks that concealed her appearance. However, the exquisite and graceful figure beneath the green dress made people realize that the woman's appearance might not be too bad. Feeling the aura of this person's cultivation base, Ji Yufei guessed that this woman's identity was probably the green barbarian of the Sky Snake Mansion. In the sky, Lu Man took light steps and moved a little closer, staring at Qing Lin. Then, she turned her attention to the amethyst-winged Lion King in front of the 3 people. I didn't expect that in Jia Ma Empire, I would see someone with a 6th-level flying monster. Green Barbarian has a surprised emotion, and the emotion value increases by 15. Lu Man guessed in her heart that the owner of this 6th-level monster was probably the young man standing next to her. He might be carrying some magic weapon, as she couldn't see through his cultivation base. Lu Man seemed a little surprised, his voice was ethereal. She knew that the 3 boys and girls below must have some background to be able to own a 6th-order flying magical beast. The young man in the lead seemed to be quite powerful, but that was all he could do. No matter what, she couldn't stop herself from wanting to take Qing Lin away. After all, that is what the entire Tianxi mansion desires. The next moment, Lu Man flashed and came close to Ji Yufei and the other 2. Her eyes met Qing Lin's gaze, and she noticed the 3 small black dots in Qing Lin's pupils. She nodded with satisfaction, a smile on her lips. It is indeed the triple jade green snake flower pupils. It seems that White Fang's perception was correct. Qing Lin, be careful. Hearing this, Xiao Yixian immediately understood that this woman was probably coming for Qing Lin's triple jade green snake flower pupils. Therefore, she instinctively protected Qing Lin behind her and stared at the suspicious Lu Man vigilantly. Hearing this, Lu Man looked at Qing Lin, who was hiding behind Xiao Yixian, with great interest, and chuckled meaningfully. Haha, is this little girl called Qing Lin? What a nice name. Don't worry, I have no ill intentions in coming here. I just want to take her to a place that is more suitable for her to practice. The forces behind me will do their best to cultivate her. As soon as Lu Man finished speaking, he waved his white hand, and the originally hard ground under the feet of the 3 people suddenly exploded. Soon, countless broad green tree trunks emerged from the ground. Then, they entangled with each other at lightning speed, and in the blink of an eye, they formed 2 wooden prisons, tightly locking Ji Yufei and Xiao Yixian inside. These countless tree trunks deliberately avoided the frightened Qing Lin and did not affect her at all. Amethyst-winged Lion King reacted quickly and rushed over when Green Barbarian made his move. It flapped its wings, and its huge body smashed towards Lu Man like a meteor. The Warcraft's physical strength is too strong. If it is hit by the Lion King, even a Do Sovereign strongman will lose a layer of skin. Green Barbarian reacted quickly. She quickly dodged the amethyst-winged Lion King who came to intercept her. Then she went straight to Qing Lin. However, just as Lu Man was approaching Qing Lin and was about to succeed, an inexplicable aura of danger descended over his body. Bang! Only a slight noise was heard, and Ji Yufei, who was originally trapped in the wooden prison, appeared beside Qing Lin at some point, looking at her with deep eyes. How come? Green Barbarian becomes panicked. Emotional value increases by 15 looking at Ji Yufei, a teenager, who actually broke through his blockade in an instant. The face that had always been calm under the green man's veil showed a trace of panic. Her hand that was extended to Qing Lin was also casually slapped away by Ji Yufei. Lu Man didn't hold back any strength just now and used all his strength, but was slapped away by Ji Yufei with one palm. Feeling the tremendous force displayed by Ji Yufei's casual slap just now, Lu Man was full of fear. Green barbarians have fear emotions, emotional value increased by 15 inches. What on earth is going on? She was filled with confusion and doubt about Ji Yufei's ability. However, the temptation brought by triple jade green snake flower pupils made her willing to take the risk. We're in Jama Empire now, we can't be too aggressive, it's better to make a quick decision. Lu Man thought that he not only had to face the mysterious and powerful Ji Yufei, but also had the amethyst-winged Lion King to assist him. Although it is only a 6th level monster, it should not be underestimated, not to mention that she has not been able to see through Ji Yufei's cultivation base. So, she took out a whistle without hesitation and blew it quickly. Suddenly, a slightly sharp whistle, carrying a strange sound wave, spread out from the sky. Boom! Shortly after the whistle was sounded, a roar suddenly sounded in the distant forest. Immediately, a giant beast that was nearly 10 feet tall and was originally resting leisurely opened its eyes and suddenly rose into the sky after hearing the strange whistle. It flew towards the sky, and its huge shadow covered a large area of the ground. This giant beast has an extremely slender body and looks somewhat like a snake-like monster. The flying speed of amethyst-winged Lion King is already amazing enough. The flying speed of this monster is so fast that it is even more shocking. Its huge tail was twisting and swinging, and it seemed to teleport. After a few flashes, it came nearby from a distance and confronted the amethyst-winged Lion King. Ji Yufei stood in front of Qing Lin, his eyes slightly narrowed, looking at the giant beast that suddenly appeared. It would be more appropriate to call it a giant beast, or perhaps a giant snake. This giant snake is extremely large and pitch black all over. There are colorful lines painted on the black, which looks quite strange. On both sides of the giant snake's body, there are 8 black and purple wings. On its head, there is a dark spiral horn with a faint purple glow flickering at the tip of the horn, which is obviously highly poisonous. There was no animal nature in those triangular pupils, but rather a shrewdness and cunning like that of a human. The arrival of this strange outer devil beast did not change Ji Yufei's expression at all. Since you have no ill will towards Qing Lin, I'll give you a chance to disappear immediately, otherwise. Ji Yufei's expressionless voice made Lu Man hesitate for a moment again. Green Barbarian becomes hesitant, emotional value increases by 15. She stared at Ji Yufei in confusion, glancing to the side from time to time. Meanwhile, the amethyst-winged Lion King was already facing off against the 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent. The battle between the two 6th-tier beasts was extremely shocking, and the news of the battle spread far and wide. This breath. At this moment, in the sky hundreds of miles away, an old man sitting on a huge flying magical beast suddenly opened his eyes, and his sharp eyes shot towards the battlefield between amethyst-winged Lion King and 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent. The old man's identity was Jia Xingtian, who had left the imperial capital before. The battle between amethyst-winged Lion King and 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent created a wave of battle that could be felt by Xingtian even though he was hundreds of miles away. As soon as he noticed it, Jia Xingtian hurriedly said a few words to Yao Yi behind him, then flew alone and broke away from the flying monster. Chapter 56. How much face can the mere heavenly snake mansion have? The huge bodies of the amethyst-winged Lion King and the 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent collided continuously, shining with light, accompanied by terrifying roars from time to time, and the Do-Chi fluctuations spread violently. This is, in the sky somewhere in the eastern province of the Jia Ma Empire, Yun, who had not yet returned to the imperial capital but had separated from Ji Yuhi and others to act alone, suddenly stopped. The hood on her head had been taken off, revealing a hibiscus-like face. Her eyelashes trembled, and her clear eyes looked up at the sky. Of course, she also noticed the fluctuations, and an inexplicable emotion in her heart drove Yun to rush over there. I've already given you a chance before. You asked for this. Since you're determined not to leave, don't regret it. Lu Man has a gentle face. Although I feel sorry for him, he has a deep mind. She realized that Ji Yufei was not someone to be trifled with, but she also had helpers, so why should she be afraid of a mere teenager? Lu Man blinked his eyes, turned his body, and was about to bypass Ji Yufei with light steps. He stretched out a jade hand and grabbed Qing Lin, who was hiding behind him. Qing Lin was startled by Lu Man's sudden action and grabbed Ji Yufei's sleeve tightly. She was not afraid. After all, brother Ji Yufei was always able to protect her. It was like this in the past, and there would definitely be no problem now. Qing Lin generates dependent emotions. Emotional value increases by 70. Ji Yufei put his arm around Qing Lin's waist and easily avoided Lu Man. Seeing that Lu Man was still making trouble, Ji Yufei became a little angry no matter how good his temper was. At this time, the 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent, relying on its incredibly fast speed and overly hard body, had a slight advantage. Seeing that the Lion King was at a disadvantage in the battle, Ji Yufei raised his hand and released a stream of energy. When the energy hit the side of the 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent, it reacted and was unable to dodge. This light palm strike seriously injured the 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent. The 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent looked at Ji Yufei with some fear in its human eyes. 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent generates fear and panic, and the emotion value increases by 15 at this moment. Nearly half of the hard scales on the 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent's body were completely shattered. Bright red blood continuously seeped out from its dark body. The blood dripped from the air like rain and fell to the ground, which was shocking to the eye. Under the broken scales of the 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent, horrific scars were visible to the naked eye, spreading out and covering almost the entire back of its body. Looking from the ground, one can still vaguely see the white bones. There was a look of utter horror in those huge triangular pupils. It roared in pain and stared at Ji Yufei. 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent generates fear and anger, and the emotion value increases by 15. Seeing the miserable and embarrassed appearance of 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent, Lu Man's heart felt as if it had fallen into the abyss and his face turned pale. What kind of existence has she provoked? Green barbarians become panicked. Emotional value increases by 20 inches. Senior, please spare my life. I am the one who offended you because of my blindness. I will leave with 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent immediately. Please don't blame me. The next moment, Lu Man lowered his posture and begged Ji Yufei for forgiveness. She glanced at Ji Yufei and saw his expressionless face, and her breathing began to tremble. Green barbarians become nervous. Emotional value increases by 15. Next, Lu Man tried every possible way to explain. Senior, I came here with no ill intentions. I just want to take this little girl Qing Lin back with me and train her well. She has triple jade green snake flower pupils, which is very suitable for cultivation in my Tianxi mansion. Tianxi mansion will provide her with the best resources. Lu Man continued to explain. She raised her eyes cautiously and looked at Ji Yufei. Her originally pretty and gentle face was filled with only fear. Green barbarians become panicked. Emotional value increases by 15. The 8-winged Black Emperor Serpent over there also fell to the ground early, following behind Lu Man in a panic. It suppressed its injuries, nodded repeatedly to agree with Lu Man's words, and also begged Ji Yufei for mercy. Ji Yufei's calm gaze fell on Lu Man, an eight-winged black emperor serpent, but it brought a strong sense of oppression. I know all this. Otherwise, you two would have no chance to continue standing and talking. Ji Yufei said calmly. Green Barbarian produces a relaxed mood, and the mood value increases by 15. Hearing Ji Yufei's words, Lu Man immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Then, she continued, Senior, please, for the sake of the Heavenly Snake House, let us go. At this moment, Lu Man, an eight-winged black emperor serpent, no longer regarded Ji Yufei as a teenager. They just thought that Ji Yufei should be some old senior who had the secret to maintain his youth. Therefore, they did not dare to take action again and only hoped that Ji Yufei would let them go for the sake of the Heavenly Snake Mansion. Ji Yufei raised his eyebrows, sneered contemptuously, and his eyes turned cold. The Heavenly Snake Mansion. This Heavenly Snake Mansion has no face in my eyes. When Lu Man mentioned the Heavenly Snake Palace, Ji Yufei didn't buy it at all. With his status, he would have to bow and greet the Lord of the Heavenly Snake Palace if he saw him. Lu Mengxin's heart suddenly rose. The strong premonition of danger made her scalp tingle, and she couldn't help but step back. The next moment, Ji Yufei waved his sleeves and a burst of Do Qi was directed towards Lu Man, hitting her body at a speed imperceptible to the naked eye. Bang! Green Barbarian's right arm instantly exploded into a bloody mist. Ah! Lu Man covered his broken arm, which was oozing blood, let out a shrill scream, and broke out in a cold sweat. Green Barbarian has fear emotion. Emotion value increases by 15. At this moment, she was no longer as calm and composed as she was at the beginning. Her delicate dress was stained with filth and blood. This is just a small lesson for you offending me. If you do it again, I will destroy your Heavenly Snake Mansion. Ji Yufei said coldly. Although one of his arms was cut off, Lu Man did not feel any resentment at all. He was just glad that he could escape death this time. Green Barbarian produces emotions of relief and shock, and the emotion value increases by 15. She was also very shocked at the same time, and couldn't help wondering who Ji Yufei was and why he didn't even take the dignified Tianxi mansion seriously. Lu Man bent down tremblingly. Thank you for not killing me, Senior. After hearing Ji Yufei's faint, Lu Man and eight-winged black emperor serpent dared to leave with their injured bodies. Although their speed was not as fast as when they came, they did not dare to stop for fear that if they stopped any longer, Ji Yufei would change his mind and kill them. Qing Lin generates trust emotion. Emotion value increases by 70. Xiao Yixian generates trust emotion. Emotion value increases by 100. Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin were both protected by Ji Yufei and were unharmed. Brother Ji Yufei, with you here, I feel that no matter what danger I encounter, I can overcome it. Suddenly, Xiao Yixian couldn't help but hug Ji Yufei's arm. Chapter 57. Yao Yi. No one has ever dared to look down on me like this. Seeing Lu Man and eight-winged black emperor serpent leave in disgrace, the two women breathed a sigh of relief. At this moment, in the eyes of both of them, Ji Yufei seemed invincible. Brother Ji Yufei, you are so awesome. Qing Lin had faced Lu Man's attacks directly before, so he could naturally feel the terrifying pressure from her. But such a master was easily scared away by Ji Yufei. In Qing Lin's eyes, Ji Yufei was the strongest person. Her eyes were shining, her cheeks were flushed, and she praised Ji Yufei generously. Ji Yufei touched Qing Lin's head with amusement and glanced at Xiao Yixian, who also gave him a faint smile. He took out a healing alchemy pill from the storage ring and gave it to Amethyst-winged Lion King. The Lion King looked at Ji Yufei silently, took out the alchemy pill and put it in his mouth. Thank you, Master. After taking this alchemy pill, Amethyst-winged Lion King's breathing quickly returned to normal. Let's go. Qing Lin and Xiao Yixian responded, so Ji Yufei did not stay there any longer. The three of them sat on the back of Amethyst-winged Lion King again. 10 minutes later, two sounds of breaking through the air were heard here, and two streams of light flashed. The light faded away, and the figures of an old man and a woman appeared. Among them, there was an old man wearing an ordinary yellow suit. He had white hair and a youthful face, which gave him a sense of elegance. His eyes looked quite majestic when he glanced around. The woman next to him was also eye-catching. The woman was wearing a tight-fitting brocade gown with gold and purple trims. Her 3,000 black hair was tied into the shape of a phoenix's cry, revealing a kind of nobility that was difficult to conceal. Her face is serene and beautiful, like a clear spring in a secluded mountain. While people are in awe of her noble status, they can't help but have some charming thoughts about her. Rather than saying that the gorgeous brocade robe sets off the beauty, it is more accurate to say that the beauty's cool and noble character adds a bit of beauty to the brocade robe. Haha, Yun sect master, I haven't seen you for a few years, but your wind-type dochi has become more and more refined. I can't catch up with your speed. Looking at the graceful and noble woman in brocade robe, the old man's eyes flashed and he laughed. Jia Lao Po Shan Dochi is becoming more and more domineering. Yun can feel his domineering aura from a distance. The woman in brocade robe was Yun. At this moment, she responded to Jia Xingtian with a smile. At the same time, Yun guessed that this incident should have been caused by Ji Yufei. Because as soon as she arrived here, she sensed an extremely familiar and nostalgic breath. On this battlefield, there is still some remnant of Ji Yufei's aura. Thinking of Ji Yufei, Yun had an elegant smile on her face, but she felt a little melancholy in her heart. The fluctuations here don't seem to have lasted too long, and the people fighting haven't gone far. Yun sect master, are you interested in following me to catch up and take a look? Jia Xingtian thought for a moment, not noticing that Yun was distracted, and then extended the invitation. If the two of them went together, they would be able to protect themselves even if they came face to face with the two warring parties. Of course it would be best if Yun is willing to go with us. Mr. Jia, Yun won't join in the fun. Although Yun also wanted to see Ji Yufei, she knew that even if she met Ji Yufei at this moment, it would only add to her troubles and would not produce any results at all, so it would be better not to see him. So she refused to be sentenced to death. Jia Xingtian was rejected bluntly by Yun, but he didn't change his expression, he just shrugged. Then I will go and find out the truth by myself. Yun sect master, I will say goodbye now. After saying goodbye to Yun, Jia Xingtian chose to chase Ji Yufei alone in the direction he left. If he wasn't afraid of potential danger, Jia Xingtian would naturally want to protect himself and not join in the fun. However, he is the guardian of the royal family. If a strange and powerful person appears in the empire, he naturally has to investigate thoroughly to ensure the stability of the empire. At the same time, Ji Yufei and the other two were riding on the amethyst-winged Lion King. Ji Yufei was chatting with Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin. He smiled heartily, but then frowned. Ji Yufei sensed that there was a fourth-level flying magical beast in the distance, carrying a lot of people, flying towards them. If Ji Yufei did not avoid it on his own, the amethyst-winged Lion King would have collided head-on with the Tianyi flying beast on its flight path. This fourth-level flying magic beast of the royal family was originally flying diligently, but at this moment, it suddenly sensed the powerful aura of the amethyst-winged Lion King, and suddenly became a little afraid, and even its flying speed naturally slowed down. What's going on? Noticing that the flying monster seemed to be trembling a little, Yao Yi suddenly became alert. She kept looking around, and several guards were standing beside her, ready to deal with potential dangers at any time. Not long after, the huge figure of amethyst-winged Lion King suddenly appeared in Yao's sight. The figure was so huge that even the experienced Yao Yi was stunned for a moment, not to mention the guards beside her. She lifted the hem of her palace dress, stood up, squinted in the direction of amethyst-winged Lion King. With her straight back and elegant arms, her noble temperament was clearly visible. The information is correct, it is actually a sixth-level flying monster. Although Yao Yi was prepared, he was still surprised when he saw the huge creature. But this emotion only lasted for a brief moment. After all, as the heir to the royal family, Yao Yi's whole heart is for the royal family. A sixth-level flying monster suddenly appeared and moved wantonly within the territory of the Jia Ma Empire. Although Tian Yi was still unclear about its purpose, she was certainly worried that it would endanger the empire. So, Tian Yi ordered the flying monsters to move forward at full speed and block the path of amethyst-winged Lion King without fear. As the amethyst-winged Lion King stopped, Tian Yi's eyes flashed, and he finally saw Ji Yufei and the other two on its back. What do you want? Ji Yufei was on his way when he saw a flying monster blocking his way. He couldn't help but frown and asked, Your Excellency is not from my Jia Ma Empire, right? Looking at Ji Yufei's unfamiliar face, Yao Yi asked tentatively. Ji Yufei looked at her steadily and nodded slightly. Tian Yi hesitated for a moment, then pulled up the loose hair on his forehead, revealing a complete, noble and elegant face. Those narrow, gentle eyes looked at Ji Yufei softly. Then I wonder why Your Excellency came to Jia Ma Empire this time? Yao Yi continued to ask. Ji Yufei frowned, then replied calmly, What does this have to do with you? Immediately, Yao Yi's gentle face changed. Of course, she was pretending to be weak just now, just to lower Ji Yufei's vigilance. As the eldest princess of the empire, Tianyi has great power in the Jia Ma Empire. Although it cannot be said that he has absolute power, he still has a strong say. It was the first time that she was looked down upon like this. She was immediately displeased and frowned. The night produces dissatisfaction, and the mood value increases by 50. The two looked at each other in silence, and the scene fell into silence for a short time. Suddenly, a rapid sound of breaking through the air was heard, and Jia Xingtian's figure came from behind. Chapter 58 Another Beauty. Jia Xingtian had white hair and a face full of wrinkles. He looked very old, like an ordinary old man who was about to die. However, the douqi wings unfolded behind him clearly revealed his identity. It seems that this person is Jia Xingtian. With the arrival of Jia Xingtian, Ji Yufei also understood that if he did not show some strength, the grandfather and grandson would definitely get entangled. After all, his reserved aura doesn't mean he is always trying to play dumb. At this moment, Ji Yufei and Jia Xingtian's eyes met, and the other party was looking at him cautiously. Even Jia Xingtian was a little afraid of a monster as huge as the amethyst-winged Lion King. Moreover, he carefully sensed Ji Yufei's aura, but could not figure out Ji Yufei's strength, so he did not dare to make a rash statement. Suddenly, Ji Yufei's eyes focused, and a huge pressure descended upon Xingtian's body. Add Xingtian to produce shock emotion, emotional value increases by 30. Jia Xingtian's whole body froze for a moment, and he was immediately shocked. He didn't expect that the young man in front of him would be so terrifying. Even he, a Do sovereign peak figure, was far inferior to him. The next moment, Jia Xingtian thought that Yao Yi's expression just now might be due to some misunderstanding with the other party, so he politely said, "Sir, I am Jia Xingtian, and this is my granddaughter Yao Yi. If she has offended you in any way just now, please forgive me. The night before will cause shock and regret, and the emotion value will increase by 50 inches. Grandpa is so polite to this person. Does this person have a high cultivation base?" Yao Yi was extremely surprised. It was the first time she saw her royal grandfather being so respectful to a young man. Even if the other party had an extraordinary background, he was still a junior after all. Even if my grandfather was wary of a young man with an extraordinary background, he would certainly only be polite on the surface and would not take him so seriously. She bit her lip and couldn't help but regret being too anxious just now. At this time, Jia Xingtian did not doubt Ji Yufei's real age. He already regarded Ji Yufei as a young man who had come out to gain experience from a powerful force, and he had the idea of making friends with him. Jia Xingtian looked at the three people and one beast opposite him, and then he came up with an idea. "I wonder if you would be willing to be my guest in the imperial capital, so that I can show my hospitality as a host." Jia Xingtian said with a smile and extended an invitation to Ji Yufei. "The imperial capital? I've never been there. What would it be like?" Xiao Yixian poked her head out from behind Ji Yufei, her hair brushing against his shoulders, with a hint of curiosity in her eyes. During this period, following Ji Yufei, she walked out of Qingshan town and visited many big cities, where she saw many new and unique cultural landscapes. However, I haven't been to the Jia Ma Empire capital yet. When Qinglin, who was standing by, heard this, his eyes sparkled. "Xiao Yixian elder sister, now that you mention it, I also want to go to the imperial capital to take a look. I have been in the desert since I was born, and I have never seen how prosperous the imperial capital of an empire is." Qinglin stuck out his tongue and spoke with a grin. The two people's eyes met for a moment, and then fell on Ji Yufei. Xiao Yixian pulled Ji Yufei's sleeve, while Qinglin looked at him eagerly. Qinglin generates pleading emotion, emotion value increases by 70. Xiao Yixian becomes pleading, emotional value increases by 100. Ji Yufei shook his head helplessly and knocked on the heads of the two men one by one in a joking manner. "Okay, let's go to the imperial capital." Then Ji Yufei smiled and nodded. Xiao Yixian becomes excited, and his emotion value increases by 100. Qinglin becomes happy, and his emotion value increases by 70. Since both girls want to go, and Ji Yufei is very casual about these things, a trip to the imperial capital will not affect his practice. Seeing Ji Yufei agree, Jia Xingtian remained calm on the surface, but was actually very happy in his heart. Add Xingtian to produce satisfied emotions, emotional value increased by 40. Next, Ji Yufei and Jia Xingtian's two groups headed towards the imperial capital together. Jia Xingtian had been observing secretly from the side, and the more he watched, the more frightened he became. Ji Yufei's strength is probably much stronger than his. When they encountered monsters on the road, just as Xing Tian began to be on guard, the monsters were scared away by the aura released by Ji Yufei. As they got to know each other more, Jia Xingtian guessed that Ji Yufei might be a Dou ancestor expert. Adding Xingtian will generate yearning emotions, and the emotional value will increase by 40 in his life. Jia Xingtian's greatest wish, besides consolidating the rule of the Jia Ma royal family, is to be able to break through to the Dou ancestor. Therefore, along the way, he kept a very low profile, trying to get a chance to break through Dou ancestor from Ji Yufei. Whenever Ji Yufei needed anything, Jia Xingtian would personally go to help them. If other people saw him being so amiable, they would probably be shocked. Dou Sovereign, the old man who once called the shots in the Jia Ma Empire, was surprisingly enthusiastic towards a few young people. Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin also learned the identities of Jia Xingtian and Tian Yi. However, they did not react much to their royal identity. Qing Lin even secretly said to Ji Yufei proudly, "Brother Ji Yufei, you are so amazing. Even the royal family wants to please you." Qing Lin has admiration emotion. Emotion value increases by 70. Ji Yufei smiled and touched her head, then glanced at Xiao Yixian and said slowly, "The destination of our trip is the Jia Ma Empire Palace." Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin looked at each other, unable to suppress the excitement in their eyes. Although they have no desire to belong to the royal family, they are still innocent little girls after all. They naturally dream of being princesses and want to see what the palace looks like. On the way, Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin chatted happily and soon arrived at the imperial capital. Afterwards, Jia Xingtian arranged for Ji Yufei and the other two to live in the imperial palace with the highest hospitality etiquette, and also instructed Yao Yi to accompany the guests well. The next day, after Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin woke up, they planned to go out for a walk to see the prosperity of the imperial capital, and Ji Yufei naturally followed them. Yao Yi was very concerned about their whereabouts. Seeing that they were planning to go out, the princess, who had a bad temper when they first met, obediently accompanied them and followed the three of them. In the city, several people walked and came to the outside of premier auction. At the entrance of the luxurious and grand auction hall, many people in gorgeous clothes came in and out, with a faint fragrance as their clothes fluttered. Seeing such a grand auction venue, Xiao Yixian tugged at Ji Yufei's sleeve. "Brother Ji Yufei, I want to go inside this auction house and take a look." Ji Yufei nodded and looked at Yao Yi beside him inquiringly. Tian Yi, dressed in palace attire, walked forward with a smile and had a brief conversation. The receptionists at the door straightened up and led them in very solemnly. Soon after they entered the auction hall, an enchanting and seductive figure slowly appeared before everyone, attracting countless gazes. This woman, with a slightly smiling face and a hint of charm, was wearing a bright red tight brocade robe. The noble brocade robe was gorgeously and finely crafted, which perfectly outlined the woman's beautiful curves. The dazzlingly white long legs under the woman's brocade robe made the man feel a fiery impulse in his heart. Chapter 59 Nalan Yanran, "Teacher, do you know who has the heavenly flame who can save my grandfather? What a beauty!" Seeing this charming woman appear in his sight, even Ji Yufei sighed in his heart. Although this woman's appearance is not extremely beautiful, she is extremely attractive. This woman's special attributes, plus her appearance in premier auction, meant that Ji Yufei didn't even have to guess about her identity. Yafei greets Her Royal Highness the Princess. Yafei knew Yao Yi. She came here and greeted Yao Yi with a sweet smile. Immediately, her gaze fell on Ji Yufei who was sitting quietly beside her. Yafei could see that this group of people was vaguely led by Ji Yufei, and even the eldest princess Yao Yi was just an accompanying role. Her ability to read people's expressions is outstanding. In addition, based on the news that was reported back to the imperial capital last night, Yafei immediately guessed that Ji Yufei was the distinguished guest invited back by the royal family. So, next, Yafei was very polite in showing her goodwill to Ji Yufei. "Sir, if there is anything you like, please tell elder sister." She walked lightly to Ji Yufei's side, making a tingling sound. This woman was full of charm and allure. Under the gaze of her narrow and beautiful peach blossom eyes, Ji Yufei's heartbeat was disturbed for a moment. Yafei's every frown and smile revealed her feminine charm, which made Ji Yufei sigh that this woman was as seductive as a cat. She was a stunner that very few men could resist. This woman, though, is inferior to Queen Medusa overall. But she is more proactive than Queen Medusa, and she is extremely good at grasping men's preferences. Snort. Seeing Yafei like this, Xiao Yixian snorted in his heart, seeming to be somewhat unhappy, and then took Ji Yufei's hand and walked away. Seeing this scene, Yafei could only smile awkwardly and dared not say anything more. Next, while walking around the auction house, Ji Yufei said lovingly to Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin, "Buy whatever you like. What matters most is that you like it." It was the first time for the two little missies to see such a scene. When they heard this, their eyes sparkled. They walked along, staring at the glittering treasures without blinking, and Ji Yufei picked them up one by one and prepared to pay. However, when it came time to pay the bill, Yao Yi said first, "Master Ji Yufei, just put these on my account." Hearing this, Ji Yufei did not compete with her for it. He did not care about these worldly things. After visiting the auction house, Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin still felt a little reluctant to leave. That evening, Jia Xingtian also specially arranged a party for Ji Yufei. Those invited to the party were all the wealthy and powerful people in Jia Ma Empire. They all received invitations from Jia Xingtian and understood that this was a party specially held for royal guests, so they made full preparations. After receiving Jia Xingtian's invitation, Ji Yufei hesitated for a moment, then thought of the excitement they had felt at the auction during the day, and decided to take Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin to participate. This is a way to broaden their horizons and experience a kind of life that they have never tried before. Party? Good. I want to go too. Xiao Yixian of course had no objection and happily agreed. He also prepared clothes for the party with Qing Lin. Yao Yi's gorgeous and elegant palace dress certainly left a deep impression on them. Xiao Yixian didn't say anything, but she had a vague desire to compete in her heart. Qing Lin, on the other hand, was concentrating on choosing beautiful clothes. In the evening, the banquet started on time. At the banquet, the head of the Mu family, Mu Chen, the head of the Nalan family, Nalan Su, the head of the Mitre clan, Tang Shan and others appeared one after another. The three old guys smiled at each other, clinked their glasses, and their intentions were all self-evident. As Ji Yufei walked into the banquet hall, everyone present looked over. "Master Ji Yufei, you are here." Yao Yi and Jia Xingtian, grandfather and grandson, walked over with smiles on their faces and greeted them. Tonight, Yao Yi was dressed very formally, with a light amount of rouge on her lips. Her lips were red, her teeth were white, and her faint smile was very charming. At the banquet, everyone looked at Ji Yufei. Seeing the serious attitude of Jia Xingtian and Tian Yi, they all understood that the person in front of them was of extraordinary status. They all knew that Ji Yufei was the most important guest of tonight's party. Mu Chen has curious emotions, emotional value increases by 30 Nalan is silent. Ji Yufei swept his eyes through the crowd, and a beautiful girl suddenly caught his eye. The girl had a very cool and beautiful appearance, and her pretty face seemed no worse than the woman who had disappointed Ji Yufei. She was wearing a moon-white robe with wide sleeves and a tight fit that trailed on the ground. Her slender waist was tied with a light silver belt, which perfectly showed off her slender waist. There is a green jade pendant hanging on the delicate earlobe. When it shakes slightly, it makes a crisp jade sound, and suddenly shows a touch of elegance. She was caught off guard by Ji Yufei's gaze, with an undisguised curiosity in her eyes. Nalan Yanran becomes curious, emotion value increases by 80 through the emotional value prompts of the system. Ji Yufei basically knew the identities of the people present. This time, after Nalan Yanran digested the alchemy pill given to her by Yun Yun and broke through to the great Dough Master, she hurried down from Yunlin Mountain in order to find an alchemist who could detoxify her grandfather Nalan Jia. A few years ago, Nalan Jia was bitten by a snake-like monster, the iron poison seal python, and was poisoned by the venom of the snake. The branding poison was extraordinary. According to records, it was not uncommon for 6th-level monsters to be killed by the branding poison. If the number of such monsters was not so rare that it could be ignored, I'm afraid many people on the continent would be terrified at the mention of it. Although Nalan Jia took measures to slow the spread of the poison, there was no cure. The Nalan family could only watch Nalan Jia getting weaker and weaker, and he was on the verge of death. However, in the imperial capital, even the president of the Alchemist Association, Master Fa Ma, was powerless. According to Dan King Ji Yuhi, heavenly flame was required to cure Nalan Jia's poison. Nalan Yanran's curiosity about Ji Yufei was quickly suppressed by her worry about her grandfather. She was in a bad mood, so she found a place outside the banquet hall to sit down and drink alone. She did not surround or approach Ji Yufei like other powerful women in the empire did. "Teacher, why are you here?" After a while, Nalan Yanran, who was sitting outside the banquet hall drinking, discovered that his teacher Yun Yun had also come. It turned out that Yun Yun, who was in Yunlin sect, also heard that the royal family had invited Ji Yufei back, and also knew that Ji Yufei was going to attend the dinner. After some hesitation, she finally couldn't help herself and decided to come here to see Ji Yufei. Yunyun's dress style tonight is different from the past. She is like an ordinary noble woman, wearing a relatively cool evening dress, showing a different charm. The elegant white color makes Yunyun's temperament even more extraordinary. The revealed softness neutralized her coldness and made her look more attractive. Teacher, what do you think I should do? Grandpa is lying in bed and in critical condition. Even Master Fa Ma can't do anything. Nolan Yanran had been drinking and couldn't hide his emotions at all, so he told his teacher Yunyun about his grandfather. Her face was sad and her voice was choked with sobs. After hearing this, Yunyun was silent for a moment, then raised her eyebrows slightly. A trace of emotion flashed across her beautiful eyes, and she asked, Yanran, did Ji Yu he really say that as long as we have the heavenly flame, we can cure your grandfather? Her eyes unconsciously turned to Ji Yufei, who was surrounded by people in the hall. Ji Yufei was smiling faintly, full of youthful spirit, and Yunyun's heartbeat could not help but speed up a little. Teacher, do you know who has heavenly flame? Nolan Yanran reacted very quickly after hearing her words. He sobered up a lot and asked in surprise. Chapter 60. Sorry, Miss Nolan, I'm not interested. Yunyun hesitated for a moment, then lightly tapped her snow-white chin. Great. This way, Grandpa can be saved. Teacher, who is the person with heavenly flame? After getting Yunyun's confirmation, Nolan Yanran stood up directly and asked excitedly. The protagonist of today's banquet. Yunyun's eyes moved and he whispered. The protagonist of the party. Nolan Yanran followed Yunyun's gaze and happened to see Ji Yufei in the hall. The young man was dressed in a brocade robe, his face was full of warm smiles, he was tall and slender, graceful, with handsome eyebrows and eyes. Nolan Yanran had just looked him in the eye at the party before, then turned away. At this time, she followed Yunyun's words and looked at Ji Yufei again. At the same time, she vaguely realized that there seemed to be something wrong with the way her teacher looked at Ji Yufei. Teacher, do you know him? Nolan Yanran asked curiously. I have seen him before in the Monster Mountain Range. The alchemy pill that I brought back to you was made by him. Hearing Nolan Yanran's words, Yunyun's expression changed slightly again, and he spoke slowly. So he made the alchemy pill. I always thought you asked Elder Ji Yu he to make it, Master. Hearing this, Nolan Yanran was even more surprised. Nolan Yanran is surprised, and his emotion value increases by 80. Her knowledge of Ji Yufei was limited to rumors spread among the top officials in the imperial capital. Knowing that Ji Yufei owns a 6th-level magical beast, his origin is very extraordinary. He must have come out from some powerful force to gain experience. Unexpectedly, Ji Yufei, at such a young age, could refine the Tier 4 peak alchemy pill. No one in the Jama Empire can compare with such talent. He has such a high talent for alchemy, and he also possesses the heavenly flame. It seems that Grandpa can really be saved. Thinking that Ji Yufei was able to save his grandfather, Nolan Yanran suddenly became extremely happy, and his eyes were shining when he looked at Ji Yufei. Every day Grandpa suffers from the branding poison, his body will become weaker. We can't delay any longer. No matter what she said today, she had to ask Ji Yufei for help. Next, Nolan Yanran walked directly into the banquet hall and headed towards Ji Yufei. Yunyun sat there, holding her chin with one hand, looking at the girl's back with complicated eyes as she picked up her skirt and hurried away. How she wished she could be like Yanran and go see Ji Yufei directly. Yunyun becomes melancholy, and the emotion value increases by 100. Hello, Master Ji Yufei. Nolan Yanran walked into the banquet hall, approached Ji Yufei, tied up her hair, and took the initiative to greet Ji Yufei. There was a gentle smile on her exquisite face, and she was wearing a wide-sleeved moon-white dress that only disciples of the Yunlin sect could wear, which occasionally highlighted her graceful curves. In terms of figure comparison, she seems to be no less inferior to Yafei, but their temperaments are completely different. Although Nolan Yanran took the initiative to strike up a conversation, the arrogance hidden between his eyebrows was not restrained at all. Ji Yufei nodded and glanced at her lightly. There were so many people coming up to greet him at the banquet that his reaction was very flat. Mr. Ji Yufei, my name is Nolan Yanran. Nolan Yanran did not leave after saying hello. Her face flushed slightly and she continued to introduce herself. Is there anything wrong? Hearing this, Ji Yufei tilted his head and asked casually, his voice very calm. Ji Yufei's reaction gave Nolan Yanran a headache. Nalan Yanran becomes nervous, emotional value increases by 80 with her reputation as the young sect master of Yunlin sect and the genius girl of the Nalan family. She has always been successful wherever she goes. If she ever asks someone for something, she is the first to do so and the other party will then offer it to her with both hands. This was the first time in all these years that Ji Yufei was so cold to her. I want to ask you for a favor. Under normal circumstances, Nalan Yanran would have left in annoyance, but Ji Yufei was the most promising person she knew who could save Nalan Jia, so she couldn't let him go, Nalan Yanran said with a smile. No matter how calm Ji Yufei's reaction was, she always kept smiling. No young person in Jia Ma Empire had ever been able to make her so eager to please. Miss Nalan, let's talk about these things after the banquet, so as not to affect Master Ji Yufei's mood. At this moment, a numb voice was heard. It turned out to be Yafei coming over with a wine glass. Her gentle eyes fell on Ji Yufei, she smiled sweetly, her beautiful eyes sparkling, she raised her glass to clink with his, then drank it down. She raised her chin, and the lines of her lower body became even more seductive. Ji Yufei also joined in the banquet, smiling and clinking glasses with her while drinking the wine in the glass. On the other side, the empire's eldest princess Yao Yi also came behind Ji Yufei with a wine glass in hand. Sir, I'll give you a drink at night. Yao Yi has a dignified and elegant appearance, with curved red lips, and a kind of nobility between her eyebrows and eyes. In terms of appearance, she is comparable to Yafei standing next to her. Seeing Ji Yufei surrounded by so many people, Nalan Yanran hesitated for a moment. She also felt that she was not familiar with Ji Yufei, and now was not the right time to ask for help, so she simply did not say anything and immersed herself in the banquet to make herself familiar with him. These famous women in the imperial capital are usually very cold, but at tonight's banquet, most of them took the initiative to approach Ji Yufei. Even the eldest princess Yaoye and Nalan Yanran are no exception. Not far from Ji Yufei, Xiao Yixian looked at the behavior of these women and suddenly regretted coming to such a banquet. She frowned, looked at Ji Yufei surrounded by beauties, and looked at the night view outside the window depressedly. Xiao Yixian feels regret, and his emotion value increases by 100 outside the banquet hall. Yun Yun just watched the scene calmly, but resisted the urge to go forward. Because she knew that she was older than Ji Yufei, and if she was like those younger generations, she would be laughed at. Soon, Nalan Yanran drank a little too much and his face turned slightly red. At this moment, she was standing beside Ji Yufei, looking at him with a dazed look in her eyes. She suddenly stretched out a hand and held Ji Yufei's hand directly. Master Ji Yufei, I heard from Master that you have the heavenly flame. Can you save my grandfather? My grandfather has been poisoned for a long time. If he is not treated, I am afraid he will not be able to hold on for much longer. Speaking of his grandfather, Nalan Yanran's face showed a bit of sadness, and he tightened his grip on Ji Yufei's wrist. But soon, she came to her senses and realized that her behavior was inappropriate. Her pretty face turned red, and she quickly let go of Ji Yufei's hand. Birth, aging, illness and death are normal. I have no relationship with your grandfather, so why should I save him? Ji Yufei knew Nalan Yanran's identity, and also knew what kind of person Nalan Jia was. He didn't want to get involved in this mess, so he shook his head and refused. Nalan Yanran becomes nervous, emotional value increases by 80 inches. Master Ji Yufei, as long as you are willing to help, I am willing to pay any reward. Nalan Yanran panicked, her eyes flickered, and she quickly made a condition. But although this condition may be very attractive to others, Ji Yufei simply disdains to agree to it. Sorry, not interested. He stared at Nalan Yanran for a moment and still shook his head to refuse.